Hello, hello, hello. Hey, I'm sorry, everybody. We were about a good 10 minutes late getting on, had a little bit of technical issues. Computer decided it was going to update itself right as we got ready to do the program today. That's always something that's going to happen. Um, today, we are on here to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. By having this program, Where Do We Go From Here, which is an online forum. We have guests that will start trickling in that will be on for the next few hours. Excuse me, adjust my camera. And we will get into this idea of where do we go from here, to give something to the legacy of Dr. King. One of the things that we're going to definitely do is try to give different perspectives of where we are, where we're going. And that was the whole purpose of this program. First couple of minutes, I'm going to have some of my family on because they wanted to come on and discuss some of these things. So I'm going to be sharing links in the back. My son will be helping greatly with that because he's in the background helping with that, my oldest, as we go through this day, because it's going to be very, very interesting. So, first, let me tell you, if you are new to the program, the Erudition Network is a online learning platform. We are here to provide basically to give you history that you may not know about, but also to provide some knowledge, right, to our folks and people out there, so that we can all learn together. It's one of the big things that I'm always saying, and I think sometimes people go, "What does that mean?" Well, what it means is I want us to learn together, to work things out together, and so we do that here at this network. Um, the other day on Thursday, I do an interactive on Thursdays that speaks to Black history. And what I did the other day is I went through the principles of nonviolence, that as Dr. King had them, um, as he basically gave them out. And I got such positive reviews from that, because what it did was, what I got from a lot of people was that we never went over these principles. We didn't know what these principles were. No one ever covered them with us. And so I thought that was so great, because one of the things that I wanted to be able to do was to get away from the old standard, what we do every year with Dr. King. I didn't want to do that. I wanted us to actually get on here and talk about this man's legacy, because it is a very truthful and deep legacy of leadership, nonviolence, speaking to who he was and who he is, uh, what he did. And so I thank all of you who gave me all of those positive responses for that. Um, it's been great to have that. All right, so I'm gonna stop belaboring because it's not all about me. I think that the first person, we're a little bit late, so I'm gonna try to get in. My son wanted to get on and give his thoughts, giving people about 5 to 10 minutes to come on. We have a huge amount of people, right? So I want to try to get folks on as quickly as possible, not stop me from bloviating. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let that happen. And I'm going to connect my son, actually two of my sons, to come on, and they're going to briefly give what they think, where we are, where do we go from here. All right, I'm going to add you now. Can you hear me?
Um, yes.
Okay. You guys, this is a very busy program. A little echo in here, but this is a very busy program. So what I want to do is I'm going to give that to you. Maddie, I'll let you go first because you're the youngest. Tell me, what do you think we are in society, and answering Dr. King's thing, where do we go from here?
We are people and we should be respected and we shouldn't have to fight for, or anything. And well, I don't really have that much to say, okay? But we are people, and we have a reason to be here. Okay?
I
I
believe
where we are right now is rather funny. We don't we don't really have any we've made progress, mind you, but we haven't really seen any real progress. We're still being killed and lynched because let's face it. I see. I know that I do respect police officers, but the way that they're weaponizing the police, they they're using them like a gun for hire. Of I don't have a gun, I'm going to use it. So, and that's the same thing that we saw back in the '60s. If they didn't like you, they were going to have the police, the hardest gang in town, to run you down. It was. I don't believe that we ventured too far from there. So, as to where do we go, I don't know. It doesn't seem like we've made a significant amount of change to our lives mattering. I would like to see, what I would like to see is our community come together and fix these problems, not in the way that we've been doing. We've we've lost the sense of movement, and wherever we're moving to, I don't think we want to be, because we've moved from passive aggressiveness to full on aggression, and now we 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 got to do better. I would like to see where we come together peacefully, we protest if need be, but we also have a have a reason for being out there. We gather the correct information, and we actually set out and accomplish what we need to, so that our lives will matter, and that we're not being slayed every time. Every news stream that you see, someone's being killed, and now it's progressed to kids. It's it's a shame.
Well, I'm going to tell you that your thoughts on it are it comes from young people, and we need to hear from young people. And I know it seems a little bit down and a little bit um, hard to swallow, but this is what we're trying to do today to get people to do that and to understand. Um, I do appreciate both of you all, but and we're going to talk about that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to hit that up, and please stay on chat, right, and talk with us as we do it. I'm going to try to bring on one more guest. As I said, we got limited amount of time, so we're going to keep it moving. But thank you both. I know you both told me kind of what well, Maddie told me at the last minute he wanted to get on and say something, so I appreciate you both doing that. All right. All right, one more. I'm just keeping it moving. You know, it's a lot of things we're going to hear today are going to be hard to hear, but I like the fact here my wife offline basically saying, "What would you like it to go?" So I think that's a good point to add. And having said that, I'm going to add her, and then right after her, it's going to follow Pastor Gibson. And we're just going to keep it moving here, ladies and gentlemen. Jada.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to keep it succinct. Um, it's a lot to digest, but let's do it now, digest it later. Okay, so in 2020, we all saw that every tongue confessed that there is a God, and whatever came of that came of that. And in 2021, we saw a lot of people still not acting as they should. What does that mean? Behaving in the manner in which is best for you to feel as if you've done what you should do. So we saw the January 6 people, and they thought, oh, well, I'm going to go and do this and I'm going to do that because this is what's going to get me fame and this is what's going to get me popular. People are going to recognize um, I am the law. This is my law. This is my land. But you have to understand, the United States of America was initially supposed to be the melting pot. And we are African Americans. We're everyone. It's not, they say, well, black. No, listen, we are African American. We are Africans of every continent. We are Irish. We are everybody that touched this soil, to include the original
Mhm.
indigenous Americans, or should we call them Indians? We're everybody. So you're not just killing the thing that you hate. You're killing a part of yourself, because we're white, we're African continent of everywhere, we're everybody, and you're killing yourself just as well as you killing what you hate. So what I would imagine we would do now, after learning from the pandemic where everyone was isolated, to find God for yourself, not listen to other people. You were isolated for just a moment. A lot of people lost their mind because you lost the person that was telling you who you were. You didn't lose yourself. You lost the person who this person was telling you you were. The church was telling you you were. Your school was telling you you were. Your friends, your circles, all your different type of communities. No, you're an individual. God loves you, all of your flaws, and you need to reach out from within yourself. Love yourself and stop trying to kill the things about you that you don't like. We all have sins. Some of us are more flamboyant about talking about it. You got this and that in every area code. You have people who are saying, well, I got my side piece, my main chick, and the chick I'm trying to add on, and a little D on the side that ain't gonna tell nobody I'm dipping. And you believe your wives are oblivious to it all. Meanwhile, there's shows that's talking about why women kill. Listen, we have to understand we're not getting away with anything, and there's nothing new under the sun. It comes a time and a season. All we need is the reason. And the where are we now? We are in the know. Whether you want to call it woke,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, we are in the know. We are in the, it is up front in your face, and you cannot deny what we're doing. We see you, we know you, and you are not doing anything different. What do we need to do from here? We need to acknowledge that. Okay, yeah, reparations. What is reparations? Reparations is the acknowledgement, the acceptance, and the moving on from what we were and what we did to move into something better. And that means that what was done and what was can no longer hurt us, because we've made amends. We've apologized. We acknowledge and recognize. And yeah, when the January 6th happened, everybody say they the law. But you have to understand that's why it's important to add what we need to the law, because no one thought that that was legal. Even if someone told you, well, we're going to go up in here with particular weapons such as crutches and things that's not considered a weapon and use them as a weapon. Stop trying to sidestep what you know is right. Let this year be the year where we all do what we know we should be doing. And what is that? You know that cold feeling in your bones, that shiver in your bones? That's not a shiver in your bones. That's your soul shaking, your quaking, because your soul know you're not right, and you need to get right, because at any moment of time you could drop dead. And if you have noticed, the world has gotten a lot smaller since Pangea with the social media. We can
Mhm.
see things that we haven't been privy to for a very long time. And if you've been paying attention to the news and seeing what social media is showing you that they're trying to silence, you will see there's been people just dropping dead right where they were. Right where they were. You didn't get a second chance. Let 2022, if you are alive, if you have breath in your body, let this be the year, the start of you doing what's right, so your soul can stop quaking and you can start feeling better about yourself, and stop trying to kill everything about yourself that you do not like. Don't bash other people. I never bash anybody. I don't care what your sins are, what your lifestyle is, what you're doing behind closed doors, and how you flamboyant about it. Listen, the problem is we all need to just recognize and do what's right, so we can sleep at night, so we
All
can
right.
live the life we want to live
All right.
together in
You
peace.
you unpacked a lot. on here. I really, I'm biased. I'm biased, but you unpacked a lot on here. But
I'm sure we'll all be digesting it throughout the rest of the year. But as
yeah,
long as it's initially said, I think we could go from here to just start doing what we need to do. I don't want to have sleepless night. I'm sleeping well at night. I'm doing everything I got to do every breath I get. I'm trying. I see a child that in need of help, and they're the most vulnerable community, and nobody's talking about them. They want to
okay,
talk about genders, and let's talk about the kids.
I
They're
get you.
dying out here. And who's
Well,
killing them? The familiar faces.
I agree with you, and I love you, sweetie, and I thank you for coming on. Stick around. Do not leave. We hang out and chat. We need to discuss these things. That's what this forum is about. But I thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. All right. That's two down. All right. I'm gonna bring on one of good friends. I have not. Again, a lot of people I meet. I don't necessarily meet them in person, but Pastor Gibson, I've watched him. He has a wonderful ministry online. And I asked him. Sent him a chat the other day. I'm gonna add him. I asked him, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Pastor Gibson?" I think your mic is off. I think your mic is off. Let me see if I got. Is that me or you?
How's that?
All right, that's better. Hey, I appreciate you coming on. I know you had some things going on today. You told me, so I appreciate you taking this time to come on and do this show and talk about this important thing. And I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let you go ahead and make it. Say what you got to say about where do we go from here in the legacy of Dr. King.
Amen. God bless you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you first for the opportunity, Dr. Phillips, to let us be a part of this very important forum like you just discussed. And I've already enjoyed the things that I've heard already. And I'm just going to add just a few things. I thank you for letting Greater Works Church Ministry come be a part of this. It's Dr. King's legacy. And I do believe that the church should always have a voice, should always have a say in making sure that that legacy of Dr. King lives on. And your very timely topic saying, where do we go from here from Dr. King's legacy? I know we probably ask that every year as we see things happen in the world, but I just got about 3 points that I'm going to bring up, so I'm going to get out of the way. Amen.
Amen. Go.
I wanted to talk about, first of all, this thing that we call cancel culture. And right now, one of the things that, and cancel culture may be a new name, but it's certainly not a new thing. And we know that even in Dr. King's time, cancel culture was very prevalent because they were doing all that they can to cancel out the culture that said that Black people should have equal rights, that our voices were being silenced, our voices were being quieted down. They were hosing us, they were beating us, they were enacting laws to keep our voice, our culture, for being a part of what's supposed to be this culture called America. So now they're coming up saying it's cancel culture and they've given it a real name. And I believe that we as Black people, we as the church, number one, has to make sure that we don't allow our culture to be canceled. And that simply means stifle our voices. Nowadays, we're living in a time where if they disagree with what you have to say, if anybody disagrees with your opinion, with your ideology, then you can get canceled. Social media will take you off. They'll suspend you. They'll cut you off, and they'll politicize it so much so that you'll be considered the enemy when all you in fact had was your opinion. But right now, and that's what's happening now. So we have to understand Dr. King's legacy was to make sure that our voices would not be silenced. And in order to continue that, I think one of the biggest things we can do, not just as Black people, but specifically as Black people, but as American people, we need to focus on how they're trying to cancel the culture now, and that's through voter suppression. The biggest way right now is, you can't necessarily just tell me to be quiet and I be quiet. It don't work like that anymore. So they had to get a little more clever, a little more creative about how to make me shut up. And the way to make us be quiet is to take away our ability to vote and vote in people that will enact laws and legislation that will allow the things that are dear to our community be heard and get a voice. But right now, we got over 16, 17 states already that have enacted laws to suppress the vote, to make it hard to get out the vote, to make our voices hard. Young people, the way you get your voice heard is at that ballot box. And we know that in church, we can get our voice heard through the pulpit, but to get the voice heard to the public, we got to do it at the ballot box. And right now, Dr. King, the legacy of trying to get us the right to vote, oh my goodness, was one of the most challenging things that they had to face.
Amen. Yeah.
And right now, ever since Lyndon LBJ got us enacted those laws to give us those civil rights, that famous civil rights bill that Lyndon B. Johnson put into place, they've been trying to take that amendment out ever since. And the way that we can prevent that from happening is to continue to keep showing up at the box, continue to keep showing up regardless of whatever of the suppression measures that they put in place. We have to continue to show up and let them know that, no, you're not going to tell us how it's going to go. This is what we need. We want to make this important to our community, because, Brother Phillips, if we don't say anything, not only will our culture be canceled, but the things that the young men were saying early at the start of the conversation will continue to happen. And, it hurt my heart when I heard him say that maybe some progress was made, but didn't really feel like much progress was made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's Dr. King would like to know that his dying wasn't in vain. But I think what has to happen is that we have to stop just talking about what Dr. King said and start doing what Dr. King did.
Yes.
We can all quote his phrase, and my goodness, nobody has better quotes than Dr. King. But merely just reciting them is not fixing any other problems. So we need to be enacting, getting ourselves involved. We need the church. We need the faith-based community to rise up. You know, listen, it was one original Moses, but it's been several little Moseses after that. And amen. And God is trying to raise up people now that can continue the legacy of Dr. King, that become little Dr. Kings. And we do it through the faith that he had, which is the faith in Christ Jesus. And the other point I wanted to make was the black on black crime. Listen, this might sting a little bit, but we have to keep it real. We can talk about Dr. King's legacy. We can talk about the people on January 6th at the Capitol. We can talk about the ideologies of our nation and how unfair they are to our people. But I don't believe Dr. King would approve of knowing that some of the most heinous acts that are occurring to Black people are occurring by Black people. You know, it bothers me. You know, we can get enraged. You know, we dealt with the George Floyd. We came together for the Ahmaud Arbery. You know, we came together for the brother Jacobs. We came together for all of those, and we picketed, we marched, we did all of that. And that's good, because Dr. King's legacy was about civil nonviolence, being able to make our voices be heard in a productive way. But I got a problem, Brother Phillips, when, yes, we can talk about, you know, what happened to George Floyd and get enraged because our fair-skinned brothers brought that on him. But we're not saying anything about the little girl in our neighborhood. We're not saying anything about the little 10-year-old on our block.
Yes,
we're not saying anything about our little Black children, our little Black girls and boys being shot up in their house. They can't play on their own porch. They can't play in their own yard, because they're getting shot up and they're not getting, listen, the police ain't shooting everybody up.
That is the truth.
Now they're shooting some, but now if you want to do the math on it, we need to take some honest on ourselves that how much of this shooting is taking place at our hands. And how can we keep Dr. King's legacy going when the thing that he was talking about was nonviolence? His whole premise was about nonviolent protest, getting things done through nonviolence. But everything that takes place now with our community is violence. So I say this as I end this out. And particularly in our churches, our pastors, our preachers, our Christians, our believers, we have to educate our members. We have to educate our communities that, listen, Dr. King's faith was based on a belief like Christ, that everybody was included.
Amen.
You know, that it wasn't a separate, it wasn't a separate but equal situation. That was, you know, back then. But right now, Jesus wants us to include everybody. That means we have to help everybody, including ourselves. So as I close on this out, I just want to recap. You know, we voter suppression. And I know they say we're not supposed to, you know, put the church and the state together. But unfortunately, if the laws are being designed to keep even the church from having rights, we got to stand up and do something.
I agree.
So, you know, but so right now we have to make sure that as a church, we're educating our young people that voter suppression is real. Don't allow it to count. Cancel culture is real. If you don't speak up, they will silence you, period. It's so many other groups out there right now. They are talking and they talking loud. And listen, Brother Phillips, they getting stuff done.
I agree. Hey,
they getting it done.
Your message is reading loud and clear. You and my wife both said, y'all made 2 points, both of y'all, that stood out to me. We got to also look at where we are internally too. That's a part of this legacy.
Yep.
And so I appreciate you, Pastor Gibson, coming on and doing this for us today. I hope this starts a connection with us with Erudition, because we really, really like to hear from everybody spiritually. You know, so many of my friends, people I know, they are pastors, and so I don't want you to feel you cannot come on because we talk at Black History. No, we want to. It's also knowledge. We want to share that. So I thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I know you had a lot going on today, but thank you, man, for coming on and doing this and giving us those great points that we should hear too.
All right.
And I'm gonna let you go there and do what you got to do today. Hey,
right. God bless you, my man.
Soon. All right, have a good one.
All right.
So we are rolling. And I know it's a lot. You know, I appreciate everybody that's come on. And believe it or not, I am actually looking at the time. So if you don't know, because I know we got so many people. I got someone standing by right here, right now. Another good friend of mine. We have not ever met physically, but he is such a good brother. And I enjoy the things that he does and the things that he has put out here. He told me he wanted to come on and talk about this great thing today. And I'm speaking other than my friend here, Tony Briscoe.
My brother.
So I know you told me you wanted to come on, so I wanted to get you on here. Like I said, you'll notice, which is different for me. I ain't saying much, right? I'm letting everybody talk. My wife would tell me sometimes, you like to talk. Actually, I do not. But I'm letting everybody come on and do it. I'm going to stop blowing you and I'm going to let you go ahead. What do you think about this legacy and the idea of where do we go from here?
Man, you know, typically every year on Dr. King's birthday, I read verbatim the letter from the Birmingham jail. Where do we go from here? And I just downloaded the Audible so I could listen to the book, actually. Where do we go from here? And there's a subline in that says chaos or community. And I thought that was interesting. As part of that, you know, I think a few things offhand. Our young people must learn their history. And the only way to do that is you can do it at home, and it's hard because our young people don't have a vested interest. Some of them I was in survival mode growing up, so I didn't care about white history, Black history, church history. I didn't care about no history. I cared about how am I going to eat, how am I going to live, and how am I going to be able to take care of myself as these things go on. But I think that's the first place that it has to start. We must teach and reinforce who we were or are as a people before we were labeled Black. And the only way to do that is through the network that Eddie Phillips has. And it's other resources out there, but we have to educate ourselves on African history and African American history and Latino history, our history from Mexico to Spain to Italy to Latin America. There's just so much education that we need to do. Most don't realize that chattel slavery in America was like a cake in a park compared to what happened with the sugarcane industry. So the slavery in Latin America was far worse. And that says a lot. It's not saying it was easy here. It just says how we were treated in those countries was far more heinous than what we label as the white man did to us. And so we got to start with history. I think there needs to be a reformation in hip hop. And in order to get that done, there has to be a reformation in the media's relationship with hip hop. In 2020, Brother Phillips, we lost over 200 rappers. 93% was through either a stabbing or a gunshot. 93% of rappers in 2020 died violently. In 2021, we lost over 20 prominent hip hop rappers. Most of those due to violence.
Role models, right? The people.
Yeah. It's this fast money lifestyle, right? But we also got to accept that. I remember a radio station in Chicago. I'm not going to name it because I don't want you to get no smoke. They used to do this thing called Stop the Hits whenever violence was breaking out. But then after Stop the Hits was over, guess what they went back to playing on the radio? The drill, the trap, the misogyny, and all this other stuff. So why did you stop the hit to talk about violence and then continue to promote violent music on the airwaves? So there has to be a reformation in hip hop, and there has to be a reformation in the media's relationship with hip hop, that for every, gangster rapper, if you want to call it, for every rapper that's talking down and desecrating our women, we should be able to hear the opposite with Kendrick Lamar, the opposite with the J. Coles, and the opposite with a lot of underground artists who are here just to, add a voice, to be the KRS-Ones, to be the Poor Righteous Teachers, right? To be the Roscosses who were teaching hip hop, who were teaching history in hip hop. Has to be a reformation in that relationship. Another piece in here is we have to rid ourselves of a Eurocentric theology that rose the Roman Catholic Church to power at the risk and the decimation, the denigration of people of color, particularly Black people. Our theology still in America, in the Black church, is thought from a Eurocentric perspective and lens. And then when you get somebody like Pastor Henry who breaks out a book, everybody's like, why'd you do a book called Biblically Black? Why do you think I did? Because your book has been biblically white for centuries now. Right? And so I think we have to actually empower our young people. When we talk about the Septuagint, no one knows that there was an African guy they used to call the Black Dwarf who was a part of that history of the church in the formation of the King James Version of the Bible. But we're not taught those things in history, in church history. Lecrae said it like this: church history never mentioned me, the brown, yellow, or the red man. It never has.
Matter of fact, they wrote papal bulls against you. So let's understand those things. Tony, usually that would be me dropping them bombs. Boom, 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 boom. But you came on here, you dropped some bombs. There's a lot of knowledge there. Because
let me squeeze out two more. Then
I'm
done.
Go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you.
We must divorce ourselves from party affiliations. Now, I know that's tough. And I'm not saying don't vote. What I'm saying is that parts of our community have been married to the Republican Party and the Democratic Party for far too long. And both have been grossly negligent in our community. And they need to feel that. But we continue to vote against our interests on both sides. I always said in the White House before Obama got made president, President Obama was put in office, we need Republicans running Illinois and we need Democrats running Washington. Now, it's kind of a reversal of that a little bit, where, we had the Trump administration who came in. But I'm just saying we have to really think. The problem we're having now in Christianity is that people have merged conservatism, which is the Republican Party's view, with righteousness and holiness when they're separate. And if anything, if the Trump administration didn't separate that, then nothing will for those people who continue to stay on that side. We must be cognizant of what's going on in our communities and stop voting in people with 20-year histories in our community, and the communities continue to get worse and worse. How do we do that? We got to stop voting name recognition and vote policy. So don't come at me about, the LGBT community, they get this and they get that. That's because they're politically and lawyered up, and they're politically vested in their community. So they raise funds, they get lobbyists, and they make all these programs, and they get attorneys to push forth their policies. We can say we mad at Obama. Oh, he did all this stuff for them. And that may be true. That can be great. But politicians react to attorneys, lobbyists, and money. We have to network in that regard. And then we must recognize the greatness that's in the Black community and not make every conversation about the state of the Black union a negative. Since I've been in cybersecurity for a year, and I'm just a novice in this, I have met intelligent Black men, intelligent Black women who are doing their thing, making moves and shaking up the cybersecurity industry. I have been surrounded by so many Black people that are doing great things, and that's what we need to also emphasize.
I agree.
So for every one person who gets shot, every one rapper who gets shot, we got 15 rappers who are building schools, paying for teams. We got an athlete who built the school. When they told him to shut up and dribble, it was like, yeah, whatever. And so we have to also just recognize that, yes, our community has a long way to go, but man, we making moves, y'all, and we're going to continue to make moves. Brother, I'm done because you know I can go.
I know. But hey, no, I appreciate you, brother, coming on. Your points are well received, and truthful, and you speaking to things that people need to hear. So I thank you so much, man, for coming on, giving me your time. Don't go away, stay in chat.
Yes,
talk
sir.
to people, and share, because we need to get people talking. We need to get people active. And you welcome on Erudition anytime, man. Anytime. I love you. We love to talk about these things.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
I thank you for your time, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You got it.
Well, we're moving on again. Thank you to my brother Tony Briscoe for coming on. My next guest, he is still his family. I will call him my cousin, but he is more like a brother to me. I love him to death. I used to have to share a bed with him sometimes, and I'm bringing him on here. That is my cousin. He is man, I'm not even going to introduce you, man, because that's I spent all day telling you how much I appreciate and love my cousin. Great man of God, a lot of wisdom there, and I'm gonna shut up like I've been doing and let you take the floor. And what we're talking about today, where do we go from here? Rather it be from a spiritual perspective, social perspective, whatever. I know you can carry it all. So on you, my brother, go.
Oh man, I prefer conversation, so welcome to join in. I'm Joe Phillips. It's a honor to be on Erudition on today, and I do honor and thank God for my brother Eddie Phillips. And somebody called you doctor, and I think that's very befitting. You pour out so much, and there's so much knowledge. And I've heard that it's just so many thousands of hours, and automatically you're considered a professional. And I know you put in the time and the effort. So this topic, I was just texting you, man. I wish I had came in more militant, man. I love Briscoe. He just gets you charged up,
right? Yeah, Tony be on it.
He gets you charged up, man. I'm just sitting there excited. But the thing that gets me here is and why do people call you right when you're on? I don't know why they do that. I'm sorry. I'm putting it on silent. Thank you. Listen, the full title of the book though was Where Do We Go From Here? And then there's this colon. And that he's calling again. If Timothy Lucas is online, tell him I'm on here. I can't answer.
Hey, call him when he try to come on.
This guy. But there's a colon. And I think we need to understand punctuation is so important.
Mm-hmm.
The colon is saying there's something following. There is something that kind of stratifies what I'm talking about. So I have to put it into perspective. And he specifically started off with chaos. Now, this is the key. I don't want to get on here. My other brother, he was militant and he had me on fire. I don't want to get on here being pessimistic. I really don't. But sometimes the facts are just the facts. I can't imagine what it's like. We'll just stay on chaos for a minute. I can't imagine what it was like for Dr. King, Reverend Dr. King, to his life's work to die at such an early age. He died before he was 40.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I surpassed that, I passed over that 40 mark, and I looked down at my family and I saw what I still get to cherish, and I saw
Preach.
what I still get to enjoy, that it didn't that's when it occurred to me what this man sacrificed. And he sacrificed so much in you know his I don't think his mind was ever on his name being out there. I don't think his mind was ever on how he could be literally sometimes they see him as basically the picture of civil rights. I don't think that I think he just had a burning in him and a love for his fellow neighbors, human beings, whatever, and he wanted to change their life for the better. His passion was to change their life, not his. And I think that's the issue right now. If we had to go back to when he wrote this book, that where do we go from here? It's a whole different here. That
Yes.
here then was, listen, we're on 10. We got rights. Man, people are being promoted. There are going to be individuals that are going to climb their way into the government. We're going to have senators. We're going to listen. We're about to do some great things. Look at what's happening. That's a different here now. But here we have now is, yes, all that has happened. We have had a black president, but now we have ventured and spiraled into chaos. So if he had known when he was writing this where we would be right now in 2021, he probably would, after that colon, would not have put community.
Mm.
He probably would have put chaos. So that's why I said I didn't want to start off with being pessimistic. But what we see now is it's really something in our mind. It's not even racial anymore. Let me tell you, there's race involved. I get it, but there's classism, there's gender issues, there's all manner of things. Then there is there's this passion that we see in many people where they want all things to be completely torn down, where they don't want what got us where we are to stand. They don't want the pillars and the columns of structure and stability. They want to take us to a place of chaos. We saw that with January 6th. We saw that with the Trump administration. We saw that, and I'm not trying to put down any individual, but we're just going to let the facts state what they are. So if we had to go back to the book and said, where do we go from here? Dr. King, this is where we're going, into chaos. Listen, there is the mentality that I can change everything to suit me. And that's why I had to start off with the sacrifices that Dr. King made. Where we go from here is we forget about ourselves and what we want. We forget about our political agenda. I don't even listen. I want to see the black man strive. I want to see him do great things. But if I focus just on him, then eventually he'll be the one at the top beating everybody else down. If I focus on any group, any gender, guess what? They're going to be at the top. They're going to be the ones pushing down. In Hebrews 12, the writer of Hebrews 12 says something that messed me up. He talked about how what Jesus did and how he in his sacrifice, he did it knowing what it would the outcome. But it got down to, I believe, the 4th verse in the 12th chapter, and it said, "You have not resisted unto blood against sin." That's what Dr. King, that's the mentality he had. And by resisting even his own passions, the things that he wanted, he put people first. Greater love have no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. It's not about what I want. It's not about everything I can get and achieve, because guess what? I can get everything and then the world will still be chaos. It's about thinking about what's going to help the royal we, what's going to bring our entire generation up. So I want to see schools better. I want to see a connection between the black community and the various powers in politics. I want to see those things happen. But what I want to really see is what he alluded to in the "I Have a Dream" speech. All of these groups and individuals together beating down the Trump administration and those people that ransacked the Capitol doesn't get us any further. It just makes our jails bigger. It's to change the mentality. What causes people to polarize in such a way where they go to that dark place. We as people have to get back to that. So now we get to the community. The community portion that I love about Dr. King. It started in the church. It started with faith. It started with prayer. It started with morals. It started with morals. And as long as we continue to forget those types of things and not teach our children, those generations are going to go to different dark places. And it was mentioned in many times already. What we're seeing in our music industry, what we're seeing as Black people being becoming these sex symbols. Listen, it goes back to promoting the family. It goes back to promoting that family, promoting the strength of that husband and that wife, and how they raise their children in the admonition of God. It goes back to letting them know that stealing is wrong. You see the band of thieves of our young Black teenagers, bands of thieves going out and hitting the Burberry store. They got to a point, the Burberry store has had to block their store on Michigan Avenue with two cars, an old minivan and a car, so that you can't get in. That's tactics we had to use during the George Floyd riots in the South Side. They figured it out. They said, well, somebody in the South Side works at Burberry and said, well, you know what we had to do.
Well, it just goes to show you, cuz that is the issue. That is what is going on. Hey, so you came on here to talk about some. Hey, we can talk. You know, it's really hard for me, y'all. I'm not saying nothing while y'all talking because y'all bringing some really good points. Because I'm telling you, I appreciate you. I got to get these other folks on here, but you dropped some bombs too. You and don't talk about Tony being militant because you came on here too. Give us some right to some lefts. That's all good because we need that. And you know I love you beyond words. So I thank you for taking the time. This is your first time on here. Now I've asked you,
yes, it is,
to be on here. So I appreciate you, man.
We're real busy, man, but as long as our schedules work, you know me.
I know our schedules are always crazy.
Yeah.
But thank you. Hey, stay in chat, man, if you can, and offer some more of that wisdom. And I thank you for coming up on here. Let me get this next guest up on here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my cousin, for
Love
coming
you, bro.
on. Love you too. All right, this man that I'm about to bring on right here, right? This brother is a genius. Now, he going to be mad that I say this, but let me tell you something. Me and this brother, we used to share books. He would send things online. I'm not even going to even give. It would be wrong for me to sit up here and try to introduce my brother here, Fahim Willis. He is this brother is a genius, right? I sat one night with him and my wife and them. They had met them before I met them, and we sat one night discussing, and this brother is a brother of mine. I appreciate him so much. He always puts something out there to try to educate people. And I'm gonna shut up for him because I could go on, brother. But I just want to say thank you, my brother, for coming on here, man, and taking the time to discuss this important issue.
Man, you know what? I mean, thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Okay. Great. Man, you know what? When you hit me for this, I was like just love, because I love what you were doing with the network. I love what you're doing with your sons. You begin in your home first, so everything about you is thoroughly legitimate, which is why I love you and your family. I had something prepared, right? When you're thinking about, like Martin Luther King, this iconic symbol of so many things. And then as I'm listening to the brothers and sisters, though, I try to stay as closely to my spirit as possible. So when it speaks to me, I take heed. And where do we go from here? Is the same place that we've always needed to go. I mean, for me, Dr. King's message wasn't about, it wasn't so much about the engagement and the behavior so much as it was about how do we remain humane to one another. You know, how do people just at a basic level, how do we interact in a way that is becoming of our belief, that is becoming of the ideals that we've set as a nation and as a people, and how do we manage that? And I think that oftentimes, because of how America uses the language, we can get caught up in the labels. So it's a black thing, it's a white thing, it's an American thing, it's a good thing, it's an evil thing, but it's really how we manage our disagreements. You know, yeah, I'm black, but what nobody seems to really dig into is that blackness isn't an all-inclusive label that means something particular. You know, it's different from person to person, from nationality to nationality, from
Uh-oh, I think we lost your sound. Can I hear you? Can y'all hear him? Let me see. Let me see. Fame, I think I lost you. Uh-oh. I tell you what you do. You want to try to reconnect? See if that do it? Sometimes it does that. All right, we'll let him reconnect. Sometimes that is sometimes that happens. It'll drop out. Anyway, my brother was laying down some stuff there, so I appreciate it. Please come back. Let me see. Did I sound okay? Y'all hear me? All right, because I want to make sure that I sound. Somebody said sound drop, so I want to make sure you can hear me too. And I ain't been saying much. I've been trying. We'll see if he can get back on here. Ladies and gentlemen, this gives me a little opportunity to say some things. You know, we've had several guests come on, and the resounding issue here today, over and over and over again, is basically saying the same thing, that where do we go, and talking about our kids, our youth, our communities, our families. And one of the things that I think Tony Briscoe brought up, and different ones, is that whole idea of intersectionality, right? We have to understand, and my brother Fahim was going into that too, that nothing is essentially pure. We are all Latin, Black, Asian, white. We are all a part of that. The funny part about that is that the CRT that they're talking about, critical race theory, talks about that. And I thought that was so funny that as we look at this, right, as we look at this, and that was created coming out of the civil rights movement, understanding where we should be. Let's see if I can. We got other guests trying to get on here too. Let him get back on. But anyway, there he is. There's my brother. Let me add him one more time.
Come back.
All right, there you go. I hear you. You good?
Oh my goodness.
We hear you. We see you and we hear you. Can you hear us?
Everyone can hear you, can see you. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Everybody can hear you and see you. We can hear you.
Okay. I can't see anybody.
You can go ahead and speak to what you're going to speak to.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you guys can see me. Okay. Technical differences. Excuse me. So I say that to say that one of the things that I had to be helped with was as I was coming out of my own ignorancy and the light or being woke, so to speak, I wanted everybody to have this peace that I discovered, this new information, this new light that was just breathtaking. And what I had quickly learned was that people are at different stages. People are at different developmental degrees. People are at different perspectives. And sometimes the greatest tragedy is when we don't manage how we interact with each other. And so then those things come off as like disrespect, or you're not understanding where I'm at, or you're not gaining clarity with where I am. But I found that one of the greatest measures of teaching for me was for me to be the message that I bring.
Mm-hmm.
You may not believe in my God. You may not believe in my principles. You may not believe in my ideological references, but you see, taste, and touch how I interact with people around me daily. You see how I handle aggressions or disagreements with my brother or with my sister, or however it may be. And I think that, and I hate to sound callous, but it's difficult for people who never experience freedom in their particular being to really exercise it. And as a cultural dynamic, even our reference points are always towards something that didn't begin and end with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that God gave to every man or woman just like a fingerprint. They have their own distinct characters and identity, and then they're called to act inside of that in different ways. So when I begin to say, well, what should we do? I always begin with self, and then I always begin with how we communicate and how we receive messages, and how we go about providing a collective identity that promotes our safety, our well-being, and our way of life. And some of the hard things that are really simple, I don't think that we address. We never address the lies. We never address the harms. We never address the trauma. We never address what we've really been through as a people. And I think that until we begin to really, I think that as we begin to deal with ourselves, who we're fighting for, light or dark, positive or negative, I think that reflects in the person. And how we begin to shape and build for each other will do a great deal for us as it relates to having control in the world, control of ourselves, and just the ability to be what God created in Genesis, which is, he and she that were created in dominion, who were given rule. But in order to do that, you have to have a distinct knowledge of yourself, of your brothers, your sisters, and then there has to be an exchange of sensitivity that allows us to respect the differences.
To get along. Hey,
I
brother,
can't see anybody, so hopefully I didn't go over my time.
you are hit. No, you're good.
That's just one of the pieces.
You good, brother. I appreciate you, man. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for coming on. You dropped a lot of bombs on here too. I know you may not be able to hear me. You dropped a lot of bombs, but I'm gonna let you go. But hey,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love you, man. Thank you. All right, this guy that I'm gonna bring this guy on because I got some people up here waiting in the background. First one I'm gonna bring on is another brother that I've met via online. He's gonna come on for a couple of moments. I think Sean wanted to, but I'm gonna bring you on because I could get to talking and then go over. We already having some technical. It's a lot of things going on. My brother, thank you for coming on.
Man, thank you for having me, man.
Let's get right down to that question. Where do we go from here? And as people keep saying, I left that part out because I didn't know how people was gonna respond. Chaos our community, but I'm gonna shut up and let you go.
Where do we go from here? What question comes to mind? Where is here? That's one thing I think about, because I think about back in the 60s, how the black man and black families, how he was pretty much he was leading the household, and he was, it was families. But now it seems like we have more single women, and no disrespect to our black sisters, because they are queens and they're doing their thing, but it's just saying like there's a difference. So when I say where is here, like where are we now? I don't know if we in the more in the positive side of things, of what we're doing, because the fact, we're still, a lot of black people still, we're still a lot of us still impoverished. We're not getting respect or getting government, like the government really not really caring about our race, our community. Our schools are still suffering. They're having strikes and things like that because we're not getting the type of fundings that other schools are getting. So where do we go from here? Where's here? I mean, where are we now? You know what I'm saying? Are we in a good place now? Now, one thing I could say is that we as black people, we are, we're continuing our education more, because, talking to you, the maestro, the philosopher, the educator, that wasn't as major for us back then. A lot of black people couldn't go and further their education back then. But now we are furthering our education. We're continuing our education. Myself, this is my last year of me completing my graduate course, getting my master's. So that's a plus, that's a positive. But where do we go from here? I guess we keep moving, or we just got to come up with a solid. I think what we need to know as a people, where is here and where is there. Like, we need to know where we are now, and I don't think a lot of us agree on where we are now. Some of us probably, don't care, or some of us overlook it, or some of us just nonchalant about where we are now. So that would be my question: where is here?
That's a good question, and that's the thing. You make a good point, my brother. Where is here? And if we don't know where here is, where you going?
Where you going?
It's into
Absolutely.
the void, right?
Absolutely.
It is so much why I spend so much time trying to teach Black history, because I feel that if you know where you were, who you were, it will give you an idea of where you need to be going, and it gives you some pride in yourself. And I think that that's just so huge to us to do. Yeah. Well, you got anything else, brother? Anything?
Nope. That's all.
Hey, man,
I would just challenge my black brothers and my black sisters to understand where here is. Let's find out where here is, so we can get there. Come together and find out where here is. Yep.
Thank you, Sean, for coming on, man.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
If you all know, you come on anytime. Anytime on Erudition, man. Black History Month is coming up. Hey,
I appreciate what you're doing, man. Let's continue to share this. This is where here needs to start, right here. This is what we need to see more.
Say hello to your beautiful wife, man.
I really
love you all, man. All right, bro.
All right, bro.
Thank you,
man. All right.
All right. This next person I'm about to bring on here, right? I've known him since I was a little boy, right? Since I was a little boy. He ain't gonna like what I said. But I've known him and his family since I was a little boy. I love him so much. When I was gonna start Erudition, I sat down in my mother's law's basement, and I told Pastor Rodney, I said, God gave me something to do here, and I feel like I got to do it. And I was scared a little bit, everybody knew I was scared, but I appreciate the words of wisdom that he gave me and the encouragement that he gave me. Hey, man, I would shut up. It's been real hard for me to not say nothing during this episode and let everybody go their way. So I'm I could go on with the introduction for a long time. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and speak to this. Where do we go from here? Rather, what your thoughts on it?
First of all, I agree with Sean Pritchett that step one is where we are right now on your show. So your show is causing eyes to be open. Where do we go from here? I agree with him. We need to find out where here is, because what has happened is we have allowed ourselves to be lost. Many want to be like Dr. King, but they don't understand his concept. They don't understand his strategy. They don't understand his ministry, his working, his laboring, and everything. First of all, Dr. King was a preacher. He was called to preach. Amen. And one thing I believe that a preacher or a pastor ought to be is not only a pastor of a particular church, which is in a community, but a pastor is also a leader, a key point in the community as well. And that's one of the things that Dr. King had. That man had a voice like nobody else.
Amen.
History says that the minute he opened up his mouth, because of the word, the voice that illuminated from his mouth, it caused people to stop and to listen to what he was saying. So he demanded respect. And I pray that we come back to where our black men will stand up and demand respect. And my uncle said, if you want to be respected, you've got to find yourself in a respectable place. Never be in a place or position where you cannot demand respect. So he was a preacher. He was a leader. Now, one of the things I learned and loved about him is we need to find out what he did and how he did it. He was an organizer. Now, he organized slightly different. Now, I don't think that he was what we call a politician, if you understand what I'm saying. But he was a civil rights leader and contributor to where we are today. And it hurts me, Doc, it hurts me to see some of my black brothers just strung out doing nothing when they don't understand the best way to fulfill a legacy of Dr. King is to get back on your feet, connect with somebody else, let's pull through and let's move forward. Amen. So he had a way of pulling people together. Not only did he pull people together, but he understood how to orchestrate and how to put people in certain positions that's going to stick there and be positive and be impactful and impactful for what they was doing. Not only that, but the people came together. I was watching the History Channel, and it talked about how they decided we were not going to take the buses, right? So they gathered together and they began to walk in twos, threes, fours, or they would go to somebody's house and one person would pick them up and take them to their destinations. In this day and time, it's me, myself, I, and Irene, all four of us. It's all about me, 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 me. That's the scale on the musical note. But in Dr. King's day, it was not about me. Even the Bible says that we're to consider one greater. We're to honor, we're to respect the other person, or esteem is what the Bible says. Esteem the other person or my brother greater than I esteem myself. So when I look at what Dr. King did, he was number one, he was an organ, or number one, he was a man that understood his rights. He stood up for what was right. Makes him no difference, even the color of your skin. He stood up for the garbage collectors. He stood up for injustice in this land, period. And the thing is yes, I love my black brothers and my black sisters, but I want to stand up for what's right, even if you're not the same color that I am. So he stood up for what was right. He organized people to stand with him. He led the people. He didn't just say, all right, children, y'all go on and handle this business. No, he was in the front line. When they threw the rocks, he got hit by the rock. When they threw the water, he got hit by the flood of the water. When they swung the bat, he got hit by the bat. When whatever was flying out, when people were spitting, he got hit by whatever, because leaders don't necessarily lead from the rear, although they can.
But a true general is going to be out front leading the people. And I got utmost respect. So what we need to do, my brother, is revisit what he did, revisit how he did it, and then try to figure out, where did we get lost at?
Yes.
That's what we need to do, is find out, where do we get lost at, and see how we can get back. What I hate about this is my last statement, is we only step forward when injustice is done.
Preach.
And or when I'm connected to the person who was unjustly dealt with. But until then, if it doesn't affect my house, my church, my community, my family, I'm just going to watch it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. But if it affects a human being, period, if it's injustice, I'm going to step to the forefront. Now, preachers are great leaders of the community, period. And every preacher, every pastor, go to their local church like they did on Dr. King's day, speak to that congregation passes it down to the family, passes it down to the community, takes it to the school, and before you know it, we got a united front.
We got a united front.
Yes, sir.
Brother. You said some words here, man, because that is the truth. It started in the church. If we understand that, I always tell people all the time, we study history, that when we was freed, the first place that was built in them towns was the church.
That's right.
People lived in them churches.
Yes, sir.
They lived around the churches, and the church helped you build your houses, your business. It was a place where people would talk. So that united front is truthful. You preached on that. You gave a word here real quick about the time. Hey, man, thank you so much for coming on. Anytime you can be on here. Thank you so much, Pastor Rodney.
You're welcome. You're doing a fine job. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too now.
I've had some really eclectic people on here, man. I'm so happy for all of you all. I'm bringing on a brother right now, right, that I met a couple of years ago. He's from Chicago. Really good dude, man. And he came at me real briefly when I was in the Navy, saying, hey, man, I was thinking he was looking for a mentor. And I was floored because this brother is very smart. He is a very intelligent young man. And I asked him, he was like, I don't know, man, these people out here, they coming at it real hard, bro. But I'm going to bring on my brother, Roch, man. Hey, I know you away from us, so it's kind of crazy time for you. But I want to say thank you, man, for coming on. And then just to give a couple of words, man, where do we go from here? And speaking about Dr. King.
Yeah, what's up, man? I appreciate you inviting me to your show, man. I really do.
Oh,
And
no.
heard some good words from these people, man. I'm probably not as well versed as them, but what I want to talk about is what I think moving forward is. I want to speak from a financial literacy part. I think that in the schools, man, it's not enough financial education being taught, and so what happens with that is that because you're not being taught what financial education is, and you have the out to sell drugs and be violent, steal, rob, and all that stuff. And if that financial literacy was taught in the schools and gave people a sense of pride to create their own stuff, then that could possibly be a way to eliminate a lot of the thought of poverty and a lot of violence, and pretty much make violence like an X factor. And because our youth are not being taught that, from not even the youth, like even my age, I don't ever remember being taught nothing about money and savings account, bank accounts, and things like that. And I just feel like that in a household can create so much stability, because the thought of getting a job and investing and knowing that money can be compounded or invested into some type of vehicle to create some wealth per se down the line. If that was to start today, who's to say where our children will be at 20, 30 years from now, and what type of effect that right now could create for that? Because we can't change the past. You can't change a lot of that stuff. You can't go and invest those dollars, and you can teach it, but you but you can take a baby and mold them right now. You know, you can invest in a 529 account or a life cycle fund. You can put a lot of effort into the youth right now to start to change 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where, I mean, everybody's talking about a lot of different topics, but to me, that's the one that really makes the most sense. And going forward, like
Okay.
generationally,
That's not removed, brother. I mean, Dr. King talked about what he talked about is 3 evils, right? He said that the evil of racism, the evil of poverty, and the evil of war, right? Because you are absolutely right. You to speak about financial literacy, because the idea of us growing, right? Growing our understanding of finances and understanding that historically, we weren't taught that, because our ancestors who were slaves and who had businesses and even doing integration changed the whole financial scheme of this country. So no, you are absolutely on point to make that point. It's a great point to make.
And I'll leave it this, like, you know, I was raised by my grandmother, like you told, on the south side of Chicago. And it was very, very, you know, Inglewood, 60th Winchester, terrible area. And, you know, I lived up to my grandmother. She's my icon, bro. When she passed this year and we went through the, you know, the finances and all that stuff, my grandmother passed away with $7,000 to her name at the age of 84. And it's just like that hit me so hard. It's like, but you didn't notice, you don't question grandma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff over the years, man, like how old, like just the time and all that.
What you could do.
It's like,
yes.
Yeah. And now you don't have and I don't have a choice. You know, I have a 1-year-old. I don't have a choice but to make sure that she has every bit of the literacy that I can give and create and have her read. I'm taxing the lemonade stand to teach her about life, man. So that's just my 2 cents, man, for what I think moving forward would look like for the culture.
You threw some knowledge down too. You know, we need to understand that, and that is real. I guarantee you, there's not a person that's watching who has not gone through that, because that's how our families, right? You only know as we were raised what you know, right? And until you get out, you know, coming in the Navy, getting out and seeing the world, you see things, you see like, wait a minute, man, it's different than that, right? So, brother, thank you. You know, you always got a place to come talk to me. You always hit me up at some point in time. I hear from you.
Always,
and you know, always, man, always you got my ear. I thank you so much for coming on, man, and dropping this wisdom down there for us.
Okay. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. See you later. My brother Karachi, man, you know, another Navy guy. I tell you, a lot of us out here, we got to learn that financial literacy part. I see so many people now starting to talk about that. All right, we're moving on. My next guest that's coming on here, he is the host of the Man Up Show, one of the co-hosts. Him and his brother, they hosted together. But I asked him to come on, and he never lets me down. He was like, yeah, man, I got you. Y'all come on up on here. It's my brother, Mike Wiley, the voice, as Pastor Razor called him. I wanted to give you that time, man. And you know, it's hard for me, man, because you know from hosting the show, because I'm trying to let everybody speak. Sometimes I'm quite literally, while people are talking, doing this. Right?
Now, look, man, that's your God-given right to interject. That's what you got to do. You be like, hold on, I know what you're saying. Let me tell you this. No, I feel you, man. Listen, dude, first of all, I just want to I want to thank you and appreciate you for even considering me, man. I looked at some of the people that you had on here, man, and it's just like I don't even belong in the same category as some of these guys, man. But I thank you for having me on. You know, South Side of Chicago, man. It's I look at what you're doing, first of all, and I think someone actually said that is, man, you know, where do we go from here? This is what you do and how you educate and how you try to put in people what was once lost is one of the ways that we progress and go forward. So I just wanted to appreciate you, first of all, for what you do, and encourage y'all, if y'all ain't took that test yet, it's okay if you only get 3 right. I'm just saying. Man, that quiz was boy. Look, you talk about anxiety. I ain't have anxiety until I took that quiz. I was like, I gotta go to the doctor after that one. Look, you know what's so funny? I heard so many people on here hit on so many good points, and I'm just like, I don't really have much to add to it, man. But and I was so conflicted about, you know, about the topic. Where do we go from here? I think one of the biggest questions that we need to ask, we need to address the elephant in the room. And because before we figure out where we want to go, where we're going from here, we have to ask ourselves, do we even know where we want to go? And the reason why I say that is because one of the things when we look at Dr. King, he was able to rally like-minded individuals that had a goal and a purpose in mind, and they worked together to accomplish that goal. And not trying to be, you know, the Debbie Downer of the group, but it's like, can we do that in the current state that we're in?
You asking something now.
Do we even know where we want to go? Half of us don't even want to get out to vote. And the other half that do vote, we only pick a certain way because our mama and our grandmamas used to vote that way. So we gotta ask the question, where do we want to go? If you were to get 10 or 12 people in the room and ask them, where do you as a black man, as a black woman want to go? I guarantee you're going to get different answers from every last one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get different answers. So in order for us to figure out where we go from here, we have to figure it out amongst ourselves. Where do we want to go? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see your children, your children's children? Where do you see us going? And if you see us going in a certain direction, then let's talk about it and say, hey, as a collective, what do we expect from those that are in positions of authority, for those that are supposed to be representing us? What are we telling these people that we as a people want from them in order for us to go anywhere? Most of us, and the reason why I mention voting is because a lot of people don't vote because they say their vote don't count. It does count. But you have to understand where your vote is, how you have to understand why your vote is important. And then on top of that, you have to also be able to hold these people that are in these offices and in these positions accountable for the thing that you put them in office for. And I say, where do we want to go? Because I remember for a while before, Joe Biden, y'all remember Joe Biden, don't you? Yeah, he's the president of the United States. Him and Kamala. Yeah, y'all remember her lady? She had y'all wearing Chucks and pearls, and I ain't seen her since then. I'm just saying. But we sat up there and we voted them in office. What are they doing for us? What have they done for us? I remember young Joe Biden, and I say young as a joke, but I remember him saying, listen, to the African American community, I appreciate you and I thank you. And I will not forget you when I get in office.
Yeah.
It's a good chance he forgot. And it's a good chance that y'all don't even care. Because you know what you're thinking? Nah, he's just like every other politician. But we have to get out of that mindset and start holding these people accountable when we put them in office. Where do we go from here? Where do we want to go? I remember the hot button topic on our show one time was the black agenda. I was like, yeah, let's talk about the black agenda. Then I was like, wait, what's the black agenda? Because I don't know. I don't know what the black agenda is.
I didn't get the memo.
I didn't get no one consulted me. Was it in my census packet? I didn't get the memo for the what's the black agenda? I don't know. I had no say so in the black agenda whatsoever. And the sad part about it is that None of us really did. I know we have people that's in place that's supposed to be, hey, yeah, we're the one that we created the Black agenda because we know what Black people want. Do you really? You didn't ask me. You didn't ask my neighbor. You didn't ask my other neighbor. So to say where we're going, we don't even know what we want. We don't even know where we want to go. And if we do know, then why can't we come together and say, hey, Mr. Governor, Mr. Alderman, I ain't gonna even start on the aldermans, but Mr. Judge or whoever, this is a list of the things that we want y'all to do for us. Can you do it? Because these are the things that's important to me and people that look like me. Can you do it? And if not, I'm gonna hold you and know that once you get in office, if I vote for you, I'm gonna hold you accountable for it. But we don't do it because we don't even know where we want to go ourselves. We don't even know where we want to go. And then also, Pastor Rodney Jones, he hit the nail on the head too, because that kind of thing stuck out to me. You can talk about where we want to go, and the reason why Dr. King was successful because he had like-minded people that was behind him. Where's the community? Where is it? The village is dead. It has been burned to the ground. We cannot progress as a people when we're not even together. Before we even start on talking about where we go from here, there are some things that we need to repair within ourselves, within our community, before we can even go. We are broken as a people, and we cannot progress in our broken state. You ever seen somebody build a building on a cracked foundation? No. And the reason why is because they know that if that foundation is faulty, that building will never hold. If we don't rebuild our village, if we don't rebuild our communities, if we don't reconnect those severed ties that once held us together, that got us through those times, then we'll never go anywhere. So where do we go from here? It's up to y'all.
Yeah, you threw some stuff down there, brother, but you was honest. You hit it. You that's the honesty part that is essential. Thursday I sat down and I did not know what I was going to teach about Dr. King until the day before. And one of the things that I did is I said to myself, I said, Dr. King had 6 principles. And I said, no, who taught them principles to anybody? I asked my son. My son said that I never heard of them 6 principles. But his first principle was information gathering. His first principle was know who you are, know where you're at, know what your situation is. Pastor Rodney said it earlier. Once you gather that information and you can articulate an issue, we got folks out who can't even articulate the issue. It doesn't matter about education. It means that you don't even try to figure out where you are. And you must become an expert of at least yourself.
Come on.
Before you could teach somebody else.
You got to. One of the things, we have several mantras on our show actually, but one of the mantras that we live by is that we tell all of our viewers, listen, above all and everything else, be informed and not influenced. You know what I mean? Because if you have, anybody can be influenced by anything. And you can easily be led astray. You can easily be led down the wrong way, be led to believe whatever, just any and everything. Just like many of us have been led to believe that we were, this atrocity that happened to this country. But when you're informed, you know the greatness that you are. When you are informed, you know the greatness that you accomplished, how powerful you are, how awesome you are as a person, as a people. Yes. That's why that information is important. It ain't about being the smartest dude in the room, because Lord knows there's a lot of people smarter than me. But you give me a subject And you give me the right information, man, I can sling it with the best of them. I'm
Hey, I
telling
tell
you.
people all the time, don't ascribe to be the smartest person in the room, but do everything you can to not to be the dumbest person in the room. And if you can do that, right, then
you say you're good to go.
You're gonna be good to go.
Yes,
Bruh,
sir.
I thank you for coming on here, man. It is so important to hear these voices. I tried to do this show today. I was trying to shut up and just let y'all speak to it.
It's hard, man. It's hard.
I'm on every Thursday.
Yes, sir.
And I interact with people every Thursday. So you want to hear my voice, come on Thursday, you can do that. But I wanted to hear everybody's thought on this. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. You know, you come on anytime. You'll feel anytime on Erudition. And I thank you all for always being so hospitable to me with y'all show, man. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
Look, and speaking of which, real quick, y'all check Eddie out because he's gonna be on our show on the 8th of next month. Yes. Black History is going down, man. We're gonna have a ball.
Yeah, all right, brother. See you later. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, bro. Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna bring on, I got two people in the queue going back to back. I'm bring on first one, I'm gonna bring on, you know, I'm gonna say this. I lost my brother a couple of years ago, one of my best friends in the world. I tried to man up and take it, you know, but I love my brother. I love his family. Whenever I was in need, whenever I had a question, his family was always there for me. And his little brother, my brother, Nathan, he asked me, could he come on? And I just said, you know, yeah, man, come on and give us your perspective on this. So I'm gonna add you up on here. Brother, how you doing? I see you
doing all right.
You try to grow this beard, huh?
Trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to let it grow. It's getting in. It's getting there.
Man, hey man, I'm gonna give you some moments to speak your mind on this issue. Or where do we go from here? We've had many people's perspectives on it, and I'm gonna shut up. You know, that's not very easy for me sometimes. To shut up and let you go ahead and speak. Go ahead, my brother.
All right. Yeah, I mean, most of everything was already touched on, so I'm gonna come from a different angle at it. Is because I know, like, a lot of people look at the elections and stuff, and the politicians that running for presidents and stuff. I think as a people, well, as a people under God, as the body of Christ, I think we should elect our own person that we feel could represent us better, to raise that person up to run for office. Because personally, I don't trust politicians, and I think every politician have a certain agenda behind their their presidency. So that's why I'm thinking, like, the best way that we could grow as a people is to unite ourselves as one, unite ourselves as one and elect somebody to represent us. Because every politician come out there and they always say, well, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do this. So we go by those standards that they say they're going to do, and they never do. Mm-hmm. So to me, where we go from here, I look at the situation where we're at now. We're like in a fallen state right now. So I'm looking at it as everything that God has set on the pathway for us has been basically erased. So all these things with the genders and the racism, the genders, and all these things that have been coming into play is stuff that just taking us further and further away from God, is how I see it. So I see us as we falling further from God than trying to, get closer to Him. So to me, the best way that I could see that we could start making any leadway going anywhere is to get back into looking to God to answer a lot of our questions, and to lead us into the next, to where we should be. Because a lot of people getting detached from God, people looking at self to see how they could better something, and how they could make a change, when the change comes from the person that brought us here on earth in the first place. We got to all go back and convert back to God as the plane, as the ground foundation that we need to grow on. Because without a strong foundation, we're never going to, we're always doomed to fall. So if we go back to the foundation of God and putting our faith in our morals and basing our lives on that foundation, we can rebuild and get stronger and progress forward. So at this time, at this point of where we're at, I don't see that we're getting anywhere, going to be getting anywhere that's going to be prosperous and
Mm,
strengthening for our own people, because
mhm.
we so detached from God right now. I talk to people, and a lot of people do not even want to hear the word God. So as even Ronald Reagan, a lot of people don't like Ronald Reagan, but he said the main thing that actually stand out: if America take God out of America, America will fall. And that's exactly what we're doing now. I see the economy is collapsing. A lot of things is falling apart in America because America has taken God out of America.
Oh,
We're trying to keep injecting them in, but they keep making more laws and more things that keep pushing God out of America.
I
And
agree with you.
that's where we actually looking and facing right now.
I agree with you. I think that spiritual connection is so important. And man, I appreciate you coming on, man. You
Oh,
know I
you're
love you.
welcome.
You know I love you, man.
Anytime.
And you know that your family means so much to me, man. And I ain't finna get all wishy and wappy up on here. You know I love y'all, man. And
Same here.
thank you for coming on, man, and giving your big brother, some love on here to come on here for that.
Man, I feel you.
Anytime, man. Anytime you
Anytime.
want to
Anytime
come.
you need me, you can call on me.
All right, my brother. I love you.
All right. Love you too.
All right, later.
All right.
This has been I'm just rolling with this, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been with us, we've had so many guests on. Everybody has their thoughts and their thoughts on it. I'm about to bring on this next one in my queue. This is my sister's husband, but I call him my brother. This is my crazy brother because he often does things that I loot him, but I love him so much. I love the way he loves my family, the way he loves my sister, my mother, his nieces, his nephews. Such a good man. And I speak none other than my brother right here. What's going on, man?
Hey,
What's
can
going
you hear
on?
me?
I hear you.
It's so weird. I didn't know how to get on StreamYard. So Tristan told me I can put you on. He said, I got Facebook. So the whole time we didn't know he had Facebook.
Yeah. Yes, he's related to his cousins because they be doing things, man. Yeah. Well, bro, I'm trying to shut up and let everybody go. So go ahead. What's your thoughts on this?
Sean said it earlier. He said, when it says where do we go from here, where's here? I was asking that earlier, and but the reality is we're far from where he was at that time. So we're far from where Martin Luther King was at that time. But our battles are far worse, right? You think about where they were back then. The church was strong, family was strong. You could not break apart families as much as you try. Uh, so we've came far from there, but I think we've worsened off because if you look at our family structures, there is, until we are able to restore our families, we won't get to where we need to be. And I know we're speaking civil rights, and I know we're speaking where do we go from here as far as the book, but and we can't go anywhere without God and family. That's first. Another thing is they were very powerful in those days on community. And what I mean by community, they took care of each other. When they said that it took a village to raise a child, they really meant that. It took a village to raise a child. So for us, we halfway know where our kids are. We halfway know what our kids are doing, and we definitely not letting anyone discipline them. So you think about the community as a whole and the things that we've done throughout the years since that book, right? Not only have we begun to literally kill each other with violence, but we kill each other with words, and we kill each other individually. And we're just talking about a black community. So the community has to be revitalized also. And also, as a black man, the black man has to take his place in his community. And he has to take it at home first because we can't go further than Martin Luther King's book if we don't start at home. And if we
Amen.
don't start there, then we have to get back into the community. And for the people, there's families that have never had a male figure in the home, and as much as they try, they may not have one because of where we're going, and we're losing a lot of our generations to drugs. We're losing them to violence. We're losing them to everything, right? But there's so many solid black men who, as a community, are not reaching back. So reaching back in the mentorship, reaching back to say, hey, I used to be where you are, and let me help bring you up, right? Typically we are stooping to uh, some people's levels, and you know, we can go, and that'll go down a drain we don't want to go down. But you know, there's a lot of grave examples of that, because and you think about the church, like really think about the church and what it used to be. And people come to the church for safety, and they come to, you know, when I need prayer, we didn't care what you need a prayer for, because if you told the pastor, you kind of told the pastor, right? Now you need prayer, you say that openly, they're going to talk about whatever that prayer was you needed. So, but reaching back for the community and making sure that we're truly taking care of each other. And the young man said about wealth creation.
Mhm.
I don't think wealth creation has been taught in our families for generations. I mean, a lot of us have spent over $1 million, right? And if we need 1 million to bail out of jail right now, we probably we wouldn't have it.
Yep.
And you still wouldn't have that community to help you out with it. And also you wouldn't have that family to go back to, and that church definitely not going to give it to you. So, but where do we go from here? Like Sean said, we got to establish where we are now. And we also have to realize that we're further from where Martin Luther King was then, but we're in a worse state. We're in a worse situation. We're in a worse situation as a people. Our people have more money than they ever had back then. We just don't use it right, right? You can give us all the millions and we still live through stupidity.
Mm.
And we use our money to do everything but what we should be using for. So, but we still farther than where he was. So here's what I would say. We have to restore the family first. We have to restore community, you know, and that's going to take the parts of every person, not just the black man. It's going to take the black woman. And then last thing, solid individuals in the black community, black males need to step back and reach back to some of the young kids on the street. And our reality, if we walk the street right now, we're more afraid of what the young guy going to do than trying to help him.
That's true.
So yeah, that's all I got to add. And I appreciate you for adding everybody. I listen to everybody. A lot of smart black men on here. I think that going forward is, you know, I personally think you should use all of February and do something of this sort, and then we reach out to get some people that are of influence, because here's what's happening. There's people who have audiences out here that are reaching millions, and
Oh, I know.
they're reaching multi-millions, right? But they're telling them the dumbest things, like they're not really. And these are a lot of our black leaders. They're not doing anything that is guiding people to anything. So we can try to do this all of February, and continue to keep people on and keeping Black history alive. And like you said earlier, if we don't know where we've been, how can we go where we need to go?
Amen. Bruh, thank you, man. Again, hey, I'm happy with everybody that's come out here. I ain't got to say nothing, because y'all throwing all them logic and knowledge bombs down, and you giving people the things that they need to hear, you know. And so I appreciate you, my brother, man, coming on. Tell my sister, you know, I asked for women to come on here. We were very male heavy, but you made a point here, right? It takes the woman and the man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my wife came on because I asked her, you know, I said, hey, I want you to come on and say something about, as she did. She said a lot, right? That is truthful and to the point, because we have different perspectives sometimes, and we need to be able to bring those perspectives. But I love you, bro. Thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for giving the time. And you, anytime, as I keep telling everybody, come on Erudition anytime. Speak with us, talk with us as we go further.
All right, love you, man.
Love you too. Bye. All right, this next person, I had him in the queue for a while. I know he ain't mad at me, but I wanted to give everybody their time. I met this pastor here through my family, and this man of God right here has been such an encouragement to me too. It's like Pastor Rodney, you know, as I venture out to do erudition. and he has come on our show. He has a great book. As a matter of fact, I got that book sitting right over here. I got actually both his books sitting over here that I have purchased. But giving Black folks the things they need to know about themselves. But I'm not going to belabor it. Like I said, I'm not going to talk to everybody. I'm going to bring on here Pastor Henry Razor. He is a tremendous man of God, and I want to definitely give him some time. And I'm going to stop talking.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you really well.
All right, man. It's great to be a part of this show. Great to be a part of what's going on today. I actually thought 1:30 I was there in just to listen, and my wife was there upstairs. She's listening, and just excited. I'm just excited about this. I'm going to tell you because I think you're doing a great work in what you're doing here. And as I heard Dr. Tim say that before, there are people that are reaching millions of people, but it's not that what they're reaching, it's what they're saying when they reach them, right? And here's the thing. There's no reason why Eddie Phillips shouldn't be reaching millions of people. If the people that are listening, the people that are here, if we're not competing, but we're working as a coalition and working together, we should be sharing your show every Thursday night. We should be telling people about the Erudition Network, and it's coming on. There's no, I don't deal with the people that for me, I'm a pastor. I am okay. There's a little bit of echo here. Let me turn down a little bit here. I am a pastor of a community church here, right? So I don't deal. I don't care what the mega church pastors are doing. I don't even follow them, as a matter of fact, because I focus on the word, so I can get the word from the pastor or the local pastor here, and I'm not one that follows the personality. And my goal is to make sure that the local pastor here with the word has as much of an audience and as many people that I can get to hear that person, to hear them, so that they don't turn to the mega person that they'll never see and never touch, and they can never do anything. So there's no reason why. There's no reason why that we shouldn't be sharing this show every Thursday night, right? The Erudition Network, and we should be creating people among us that have audiences of millions. All of us have, I mentioned this at the church in one of my messages just a couple of weeks ago, right? When you talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people, and you talk about those concentric circles. The circle of concern, the circle of influence, and the circle of control. And we all have that circle of influence, people that we have influence with, places that we have influence with as much as control. We all have a circle of concern, but I won't go there because we can't impact anything there. Right, but the circle of influence and the circle of control are within us. If we can influence people, let's influence them to the people that have shows that benefit the people, so we can grow those. We can grow those audiences, and that's where I'm at. I mean, it's up to us, and that to me is the center of where we go from here. And I think that I realize and I understand that we are facing the greatest opportunity for advancement, really, for advancement, and it's tremendous. It's a tremendous opportunity. It's a phenomenal opportunity. But we have to know a few things to make this happen, right? You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you come from. Now, that is vitally important to us. We have to know our history. We have to know our history. We have to know where we're at. Or else, look, I'm not going to say let's go back and do what Dr. King them did. That would be futile. There will be fuel. That's why you know your history. So if Dr. King them fought to get us to the table, then we don't need to, and we're at the table, we don't need to fight to get at the table. We're there. But we don't need to stop fighting. Now, since we know that they fought to get us to the table, and we are now at the table, we need to fight to get served, right? And then if we start getting served and we see that we're getting served less, or we're getting served at a time afterwards, then we need if we win the fight to get served, then the next generation needs to fight to get equal service, or the service. In other words, you've got to know the past in order to be accurate, in order to be effective in where you're going in the future. And in the past, they fought to get us to the place that we are at, and we're there. We are well beyond where we were when our ancestors and our elders first started fighting. But that does not mean that the fight is over. That doesn't mean the fight is complete. That just means now we see where they're going, and we see where there are still inequities, and we see where there are inequities, and we see where there are still disparities, and we see where there's still shortcomings. And then, so we need to now fight to go to that next level, or to make it to that next level. And that means that we can't be like our ancestors, because even though it's the same war, it's a different battle, and it's a different fight right now. And so I see all the things that we had, and all the things that people are talking about. We need to redo, and we need to redo. We need to go back, and we need to do it. I don't believe in going back. We need to go forward, but we need to understand what happened behind us, so that we can clearly have a clear vision of where we want to go and what we want to happen in front of us. Just last week, it was actually this Monday. This Monday, there was a man that was a principal. I grew up with my stepfather, my mother, and my stepfather. And I say stepfather because he wasn't my biological father. He was like my father. But we were definitely the poorest people, some of the poorest people in the town, if not the poorest. And you're talking about the Mississippi Delta. So it was very, very, very poor. Poverty was the rule more than anything else. And in 1970, September of 1970, in Arkansas, we know there had been the Elaine massacre earlier, about 60 or 70 years earlier in Arkansas. And when I started school, the schools were segregated. They were segregated. And after my first year of schooling, the people had fought. There was a guy at our church, Elder Greer, that led the movement. And I'm talking people were shot, and people in my hometown, people that I know, they got shot, they got stabbed, they got beat. I can remember nights when all they were saying is that we want equality, we want education for our children and for our families and our friends. And I can remember my uncles running from the police, running from the police and hiding in the house. And I have very vivid memories of this. I remember sitting in school one day when they actually integrated the schools, and we were forced to go to the other schools, and we had to go to school, what we call the white school on the other side of town. They made us go there. And I can remember my neighbor running into school, picking us all up and grabbing us, throwing us in the back of the truck in the middle of the school day and rushing us home. Why? Because there was marches coming, and the white people were shooting, and they were doing those things. They could not guarantee our safety even in school, right? And so they brought us home. But there was a man that was the principal of the school. His name was Albert Davis. He was the principal of the school when we were segregated, the black school. And he recently passed, and they had his funeral on Tuesday of this week. But what happened was, when we got into integrated schools, he never lost focus of what we needed to do to get out of the Mississippi Delta, to get out of poverty, and to get some semblance of equality. So he became a father figure for almost all of the black youth in that area. And his number one goal was educate, 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 educate. You've got to know where you come from, you got to know where you are, and you've got to know where you're going. And he kept saying, educate, educate. And he would pull me over because, I mean, it was 15 of us in our family, and we were impoverished, and we didn't have anything. But he would pull me over all the time and say, Henry, you've got to educate. If you want to get out of this, you've got to educate. That's something nobody can take from you. That gives you a clear vision of where you're going. That gives you a clear vision of how you got to where you are and how you got. And so my statement of where we go from here is educate or die. Right? Mm-hmm. Educate or die. You're either going to know where we come from in order to create a clear path of where we're going, or else you're just going to fall by the wayside. And there was a guy here in Chicago that I connected with years ago. His name was Philip Jackson. When my son Leonard was in the second grade, Leonard joined. Was put in his program by the Catholic nuns at our school, because they regularly met, and they regularly brought him to the school. And he had a program called he had a program that was called the Black Star Mentoring Project. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea was for black people who have achieved a level of success to come back to this organization and let's mentor other younger black kids that are in the school, that are in the neighborhoods and in the city, that don't have fathers, that mothers are struggling. Don't run away to the suburbs. Don't get away. But and his goal, his motto, if you look up the Black Star Network, his motto was educate or die. You know, educate or die. Now he passed a few years ago, but his organization continues to go on. So the reason that I believe that we won't get where we're going without knowing where we come from is that because if we don't understand where we come from, we can be easily manipulated and easily redirected. Now, I know I don't have the whole time to talk, because I can talk about this, but here's a point, and the reason I say we are faced with the greatest opportunity to actually take our people and our generation to the next level. We're great. The reason is because we are presented with a challenge today that's as great as the challenge of the 50s, 60s civil rights movements for equality. It's almost as great as the challenge in the 1850s and the 1860s that led up. And I know there was a whole lot of other things around the Civil War, but that preceded the Civil War. Mm-hmm. You know, I will go back to the earlier, you know, that we don't talk about Gabriel Prosser leading a slave revolution in 1790s, right? And those people being put on trial on September 11th of 1800. We don't talk about that. When we say 911, we think about the towers. But we're faced now with a challenge that's equivalent to the challenge that these people face, right? Yeah. We see that if you go into certain places and you mention CRT, all right, all of a sudden you're going to get pushback, and really, for the most part, all CRT is saying, let's teach true history. You know, let's say what actually happened. And so there's a big pushback, but there is a movement of correction that's coming forth. So if we want to go forward, then the church also has to correct, because there's some theology that we've been that's going forth in our church today that was theology that was given to us by people to keep us subservient to them and to keep us under them. And so they taught us And they told our preachers, this is what you preach and this is how you preach it. And that's still going forward today. So if we want to go forward, the correction has to be in every area, right? The correction has to be in the church. The correction has to be in the schools, right? The correction has to be in medicine. The correction has to be everywhere. And I see with things like the 1619 Project, which we can go back way before then, but the 1619 Project and the things like CRT, there is an attempt now. There's a move to make those corrections in education. Where is the move to make the corrections in the church?
Hey,
we need to have that move. Where's the move to make those corrections in medicine and in philosophy and in all areas of science? So we have an opportunity before us that's phenomenal, but we just got to have people with the backbone, people with the knowledge, people with the will and the desire to actually exploit this opportunity and face this challenge, and we can move our people forward.
All right. Pastor Ray's, I appreciate you. They saying my mic is away, but I appreciate you making these points because it is truthful. But thank you for coming on.
Okay.
Giving me your time, and I appreciate you. Hey, y'all go out there and get his book. Get his book. This man writes great books.
And let me do a shameless plugger then, since you put it here. Biblically Black and Blessed. You know what? Because the correction has to be made in every area. We are starting to make the correction in the church.
Amen.
That's all there is to it. And there is nothing hateful or hate-filled. There's nothing about this out of the ordinary. All it is now saying, hey, this is what the Bible has been saying about us all the time.
Because we are included.
Because we are included. It's been saying, this is what the Bible has been saying about us all the time. It was just that our ancestors were not allowed to teach it. Our ancestors were not allowed to preach it. And now with this, I'm rising to the challenge.
Amen.
We got to rise to the challenge. We got to rise to the challenge in every area. I see where you are rising to the challenge in history, teaching true history.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how we're going to go forward. Now we're at the table. Let's stop fighting to get to the table, and now let's fight for service at the table. Let's fight for the same portions that everybody else get at the table. Let's fight. And how do we do that? Well, we've got to know what happened behind us that you know, and it's great, the fight of our ancestors. They accomplished what they were supposed to do. They got us to the table. We don't need to keep fighting to get to the table.
Pastor Ray, I appreciate you. Look, anytime, you know, I've had you on Erudition before, we love to talk about history, talk about the church and the connection, right? And that's why I appreciate so much about you. But thank you for coming on for us today.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Have a good one. The next person I'm putting on here is my brother. This is my brother. This is my blood brother, right? He is his own business, really, really hard working young man. And I want to say hello to my brother who's sitting on here, looking like my father. But so I'm trying to be quiet. It's very hard for me to let people, but to let people say, give their thoughts on it. You know, where do we go from here? And I'm gonna shut up and let you speak.
All right. Well, as it is, we're coming up on Martin Luther King's birthday. It's 2022, and everything we've been through over the last 3 years, consciously, as I've been seeing as a younger Black man in his 30s, going into his mid-30s. So I'm like just now getting out of my 20s and that midlife crisis that a lot of us young Black men fall into. And now I'm starting to really see the world with my eyes wide open. And when I was younger, I like to speak to at least, you know, if you've got younger kids that are men and women that are in their teens listening. Mainly things to me, Martin Luther King has in the schools they really have whitewashed, put water on it, made sure that you don't fully understand who Martin Luther King is. If you really understand what I mean is, Martin Luther King was a rebel. He was a rebel. If you want to compare him to Jesus Christ, you can compare him to Jesus Christ if you want to take that path. But you got to understand, just like as Jesus, a lot of the history of what we know from the Bible has been whitewashed over the years. Stuff's been taken out from one church or another church and another, and people today are only going off of what they are told in the classroom by their teachers. You know, you're expecting a young black woman or a young black man growing up in America in this culture of the day to learn everything he could possibly learn about the history of Dr. Martin Luther King in a matter of 3 weeks at the most, 28 days that you got in February, because kids are out of school on Martin Luther King Day. So now you leave it up to the parents. And most parents, you got to understand, most people don't understand Martin Luther King died pushing for low-income housing or housing inequality in Chicago. Or also he was working for higher wages for garbage men workers at his time of his death. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know, everybody want to say, oh, well, he was, a nonviolent man. Yeah, he was a nonviolent man, but he didn't say just take it and stand on my back and just, ride me like a horse every day. Like a lot of people today, when they get professionally and they move up, and I know for myself, being in the military, working with the federal government, working with law enforcement, you're taught to, if you bring up Martin Luther King, you only can bring up, yeah, he was nonviolent. Oh, you can bring up that, and then the biggest thing I hate today that my kids have been told, or I've been told personally, and I feel it's a racial, underhanded racial comment, is when you're told, oh, he did it right. What do you mean he did it right? Martin Luther King learned from Gandhi. Martin Luther King learned from Medgar Evers. These both were very outspoken men, and uncivil arrest is not just, I'm guessing if uncivil arrest is the right way of doing things, then I'm guessing Black Lives Matter, Antifa, these groups that we are taught to somehow hate and somehow depict in an image in our mind that they're radicalized and they're thinking about burning down America, when at the same time, we're not understanding Martin Luther King was disrupting the economic of whites at that time in America, boycotting buses. That affects the economy. Why do you think during Black Lives Matter, last thing they wanted to do was shut down everything because of riots? Or they was worried about that everything's going to get burned down. Well, I hate to break the news to you, but they was burning down black businesses in the 1950s and 60s like nothing, but nobody was caring about it then. But now it's 2022. I want to know how many black businesses actually was burned down during 2020 when these so-called riots were going on. To me, I see it as civil disobedience. Yeah, I see it as civil disobedience as myself. Yes, everything that I'm not saying that us as a people should go out and commit violence, because violence only forgets violence. And as we have learned throughout the history of this country, we are always going to be on the bottom scale of power until we all learn how to come together as a collective. For instance, Black people were taught not to, for instance, and we all know the term white privilege, and we understand. Well, there's also one thing we have to Black shame. Because when a Black person, for instance, sees another Black person, and you see another Black person speaking out, you don't know, should I speak out or should I not? Should I speak up about this issue? Because I see my Black brother or sister going through this issue, but should I say something? Because if I say something, it might affect my job. It might affect my pay. Because this is how we've been taught through the years. Oh, if I speak up to help my fellow brother, it might affect my pay. It might not get me to pursuing that career that I really want to go to. So I think that's what we need to understand is is my Republican brothers and sisters who are black, my liberal brothers and sisters that are black or white or whatever race, especially if you are minority, Asian, non-Hispanic, African-American, black, Hispanic, you really should understand what I'm saying, because we're taught as a blacks to distance ourselves from blackness. What's the first thing a black person does when they finally become successful in America? They find everything about them to distance themselves from being a black American. I'm Cuban. I'm from Ghana. I'm from Uganda. I'm from South America. My descendants are from Ireland. My descendants itself, my last name itself comes from Ireland. Do that makes me say I should hate my white heritage? No, I probably should understand my white heritage. I probably should understand what flows through my vein, but then that still doesn't make me not a black American. At the end of the day, the first thing you see me when I walk on the street, you're not seeing my name, and you sure the heck ain't looking at my DNA. You looking to see nothing but this brown caramel skin that you see. So why should I find shame in that? Why should I find shame in knowing about the history of the Black Panther Party? Why should I find shame in learning the true history of Martin Luther King, the true spirit to go out there and protest, demand what I have served, what I have fought for? Because if you have, I don't care if they want to tell you that your grandparents grew up on welfare or whatever. Well, guess what? They was paying taxes to this country. They paid some type of tax. They was paying income tax, state tax, penny tax, you name it. It was a tax getting paid somewhere. So they only paying you back what you already have put into the system. I don't think there's such thing as a lazy black person in America, because you got to understand, if they are lazy, guess what? They got there most of the time from generational to poverty and everything else. I have seen growing with my kids alone, my kids today. I have a child that is 1 year old all the way down to 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And I don't see where, as they grow up, as little kids, they don't know what racism is. Kids don't know what racism is. Kids are taught what racism is. The world teaches you what racism is. America sure the hell will slap you in the face with racism at the first chance you get that you step out of that norm that you used to cuddle into, your parents. Because once you step out of those doors into the real world as just a sheep, you will learn racism. I had my 15-year-old son experience it at 15. 10-year-old spirit. And then here's the biggest thing. It's not saying that they've been called the N-word, called out their name. It's the subtle racism from the kids' parents. And I'm going to break it down real quick. I know I don't have a lot of time. So for instance, most black people don't have abundance of wealth. We don't have abundance of inheritances. We don't have 401ks or trust funds that we could turn over to our kids when they turn 18. So our kids are guaranteed to have an upper hand in life, regardless if they screwballs or they slackers or whatever you want to call them, lazy or whatever. I see it every day. I live in a community that's like that. Nothing wrong. If you want your kids to be well off, that's great. If you want your kids to be prospering in life and you can do it, that's perfect. Not saying we should take anything away from parents that can provide that. But understand, most African-American children don't have that. So as a young black woman or man growing up, you see your other Caucasian counterparts growing up in the same area, same atmosphere, going to the same schools, and you're trying to figure out, like, how do John and Kate have brand new Mustangs and brand new Jeeps and all of this, and they ain't worked a hard day in their life? My daddy and mom go out every day breaking their backs. They come in, sweat, and the next thing they tell me, hey, can you clean up? Because damn, I bet they work all day and I don't feel like doing anything else. You ain't got no job, can you clean up? That's what most black parents come home and tell their kids every day. I bet at work all day. What have you did in your 24? So white kids, I'm sorry, Caucasians, they don't always have to walk in the house and tell their children that. Yeah. And my brown brothers and sisters, best believe they go through it every day just as well. If not, they out there trying to scrap everything together so they can get the family over the hump. And that's a whole different conversation. Because that was one thing Martin Luther embraced, was that as minorities, we are a family. Collectively, we are the majority. We are not the minority in this country. The last election proved that on its own. I don't know how many elections we have to prove it. If we collectively turn out, things will change.
Brother, you speak the truth, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You know, I was listening to you and I was thinking about, you know, the whole conversation of where do we go from here. But Dr. King had made a point in his book. He said to state murder is not the same as to ordain brotherhood. You are not trying, right, to just because you let me live among you, just because you let me shop in your stores, just because you let me do whatever, don't mean that you see me as an equal. Doesn't mean you see me as a brother. Here we are, what are we, 2022, and we still talking about racism.
Oh, yeah.
Because racism is not necessarily going away, because, as Pastor Razor said before you, education. We're not educating anybody. We're not trying to make sure that our children understand. When you and Karachi got on here, you're talking about wealth, the idea of money, the idea, not to say that money is the all that be all, but when you are in poverty, you are in a survival mentality, one, right? Because every day there's the opportunity, the possibility that I'm not gonna have something, right?
Well,
so that's a huge part.
Well, I'll give you one here. Like, my biggest thing was, I don't know if your audience know about what is it? It was a show, The American Gods.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Nancy was one of the gods. He's one of the old African gods from Western Africa, right?
Yeah.
And he said anger gets shit done. And one thing in this country that they hate is an angry Black sister or man.
I hear you.
Now, my point is, when has ever in this country, when have we ever got anything done as a people? Wow. Maybe it's because when we got pissed off enough and angry, we got stuff done. They always want us in docile state, or state, I mean. Look at Martin Luther King, and back to what I mean. They want to show you his docile side. Oh, he's a reverend. He didn't go out there.
Got angry.
We know he got angry. But you got to go on YouTube to find a video of Dr. Martin Luther King actually giving his true spoken word, his true passionate speeches in Alabama churches, and also in Chicago at the time. They don't put any of that on TV. You will never hear it in school. People talk about it all the time. Oh, I want faith back in the school. I want faith back in the school. Well, try to put some faith back in the school versus Dr. Martin Luther King and see how fast they're going to tell you you're teaching critical race theory.
Yeah, they don't even want you to teach history. So,
ain't that the funny part? They don't tell you the word history and call it critical race theory now.
Right.
I can't imagine what the heck they would call. I wonder what they call the Romans. The Romans at the time when they was conquering everything. I'm guessing that would be critical race theory, because all of a sudden now we're talking about Italians. Oh, we're not going to talk about Italians used to conquer the world at one time. Oh, I mean, because then that's what I mean when we get into this race thing, because it's this melanin in the skin that the only things that makes you afraid of me. It's not my mind.
It's not my mind. It's not.
It must be my strength.
It got to be something, right? But then that goes along to the idea, right? And brother, I'm letting you on, don't worry about it, because we had guests coming on, but they haven't queued up. So so we can have this discussion. A lot of things that we've talked about, right? When we talk about the intersectionality, when we talk about the implicit associations and how we do things and how we go places, right? The reality of it is, you're absolutely right. When the Romans were conquering, right? When they were going all over, when we look at Hannibal was Black. He was a Carthaginian. He was also a Phoenician. Hannibal said, because now you don't open me up into this history. Hannibal said, right? His father told him to war against that Roman because they saw the Romans as thieves of their culture. They saw them as looking down upon them. Hannibal went in at a time of swords and spears and killed thousands of Romans. per his father's suggestion. Now, I don't advocate that you go out and you go kill, but the mentality behind that was that they come across this Mediterranean, and if you ever been through, people who've been through the Med will tell you, it's not very wide, right? And they come across and they steal our cultures and they take these different things from us. When Dr. King was trying to tell people that his first thing of his principles was to inform yourself, know who you are. It was no different, no non-militant than Malcolm X telling people, right, to know their history. All of these things were said to lead us to know who we are, as was said many times, many guests on the day, so that we know where we going. Right?
Oh, you gotta know. You gotta know where you're going. Definitely. The problem, I think, is today most people don't want to know where we're going because they're thinking how fast they can get the buck. You and me, brother, we've been outside this country. See, I think that's the other thing too. We don't educate our black children to say, hey, when I get old enough and I get enough money, let me go and see what's on the other shores outside the other three shores of this country. Because I guarantee if you got more of those, I guarantee you will see more appreciation going on in this country. You see how fast they wanted the businesses to come back to America when the businesses start leaving? I guarantee when black dollars start leaving, or black education, because you got to understand, think of all the black children in this country who's going to college this year, who's going here, staying here in this country, going to college. That's billions of dollars. You talking about you gonna go to a whole nother university overseas and you start talking that mess, I guarantee they sure to talk to you a radical or something else. Me and you, we've been outside this country and we realized that in this country, we care more about materialistic things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we care about what's the next coolest shoe coming out, when the next cool phone gonna come out. Man, I hope somebody see me real quick because I'm on this TikTok and I'm gonna do a dance and become popular to make some money. And you know what? It's all to get stuff that you don't need. Man, I tell you right now, you go outside the United States and you'll see people, only thing they care about is what food they gonna get in their belly, make sure their kids got clothes and shoes on their feet, and is we gonna be safe tonight when we lay our heads down?
Are we gonna live and we gonna see tomorrow?
Correct.
I hear you.
But in America, I'm sorry, we don't have those options. We gotta think about how the lights gonna stay on. Who's paying the car notes? When the insurance bill is gonna be due? And when we get into all these bills and all this stuff, we losing the concept of living. You know,
can be gone.
Nobody wants to spend time. The black family home has been decimated, you know, due to everybody wants gimme, gimme, gimme. And everybody's been given this false idea that to be successful in this country, I have to have millions of dollars for some parent. Man, if I got a job where I'm making $40,000 a year, I'm a failure for some apparent reason in America. And you know, it's our own people that'll put you down faster than somebody else. Because see, when you walk down the street, again, goes back to what I was saying with Dr. Martin King. A person from another race, all they see is this.
Yeah.
They can't discriminate against me if all they see is this. Because I could be the brokest or the richest black person walking down the street. I got a peak coat on. So what? I could be a poor person with a peak coat on. That don't make me no better or no less. Right? But all you're going to see is this. Sometimes in America. But our own people, they don't see just this. They see this equated to them, and then they become shameful if they see you for some apparent reason down on your luck. For some reason, they think that you is putting them down. In their own self-conscious. If I see a black person on the corner, next time you go and think about it, when you see a homeless black person on the street, what comes to your mind? Do you think, wow, man, I really wish I could help him? You might say a prayer, you might give him a little change, but you thinking about it in the back of your head, man, I hope somebody don't see him and think, man, we all out here like that. I know he probably down on his luck, he might be on some drugs, somebody could have helped him out. But I mean, if I get out and do something for him, then what they gonna think of me?
It's like Pastor Ray said earlier, let's not be competing against each other. Let's try to help each other. And that brotherhood needs to last. So, brother, I got one more person in the queue. Our nephew is in the queue. He wanted to come on. But I appreciate you, man. You dropped a lot on here. And you know all the time. I've been trying, again, you another person I've been trying to get on here for a while. But I appreciate you. You know, I love you.
Hey,
Anytime and
anytime,
every
man.
time. And you know, tell my nieces, my nephews, I love them. And your lovely wife, thank you, man. Anytime, anytime. That's my
Anytime,
brother.
brother.
It's my brother Emmanuel, y'all. All right.
Love you
Later.
guys. Y'all have a good night.
All right. This next guest, because different guests, we had some late, but some haven't got back to me. But I'm gonna put my nephew on here. Now, I love my family. As you just see, some of my family that was on here in the spirit, and I'm biased, but they all very intelligent. They all very intelligent. So when people tell me sometimes, they be like, "Eddie, you know, you think a lot." That's just in us, just who we are. But I'm bringing on my nephew on here because he wanted to come on. He wanted to speak to this subject, and you know, it's hard for your uncle to not speak to things. I've been trying very hard to be quiet on here today and let everybody have their take on it. But I really truly believe that we need to hear from our youth too. So I'm gonna shut up, as I've been telling everybody, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak to this idea. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I appreciate you welcoming me on. I at first was, very, I was nervous. I was wondering, where do we go is a hard question to answer. And you really have to understand, like people say, like, I love the way people approach this question. It's like, where are we? Where does it look like we want to go? It's so many ways that this question can be interpreted, and I enjoyed like watching everyone attack it in a different way. And I really thought about where where we are now aspect of it. I think we're in a big age of media. We are communicating right now through Facebook Live, and we are looking at, more and more ways to communicate with each other, whether that be Zoom or whether that be just FaceTime on your phone. It's becoming so easy to look on your phone and see, oh, how is this person doing, or what's happening in the world. And as we look at what Martin Luther King would do during his time, it's important to realize he wrote 11 speeches. He wrote probably more than that. He was a writer, and he knew how to get his preaching across. It was a lot of people mentioned his relationship with God, and a lot of people have mentioned just how he was able to find like-minded people. Mm-hmm. And we're in an age where, like, shouldn't that be the easiest option to go online and say, I really want to see Black people succeeding? And shouldn't you be going online and saying, okay, well, I can donate here, or I can watch this, and I know that I can be able to help my community in this way? And I just feel like where we go from here is looking pretty dark when you think about that. I can get on my phone right now and find videos of I don't know, a cat doing a backflip, but I can't go on. I can't really talk to my peers and friends about, hey, did you know that Martin Luther King, while he was in a cell, was being bashed by his fellow ministers in the church? I can't talk about that because they want to hear about, like someone said earlier, like they want to hear about what rappers are dying and how they're dying and what violence they can get into. And I hate to bash, my fellow African Americans or my peers even at that, but where we go from now is easily seen by what is everyone focusing on? What are young people focusing on? And like even small things like earlier, I remember Uncle Tim, you guys remember, he was just on a couple of seconds ago, he's saying how my cousin had taught him how to get on StreamYard. He was on Facebook. It's like he has a tool to help him understand anything in the world. And our future is him. Our future is me. Our future is figuring out how we can take things like Martin Luther King's many speeches and improve the Black community. This was an amazing stream. I'm not sure if anyone's going on after me, but I just really enjoyed being a part of it. But I really want to know how many people will see it and say to themselves, what did I take away from this? I really want to know how many people will see it in general, and I really would like for it to get out there. Monday is his birthday, and like someone said earlier, I think like my uncle said earlier, like people are gonna get off on Monday, or there or some kids will get off of school, some people won't go to work that day, and not to say you have to go and celebrate it. It's not Christmas, but it's hard for you to talk about community and building if you're not willing to educate yourself and find ways to teach yourself on important occasions and time where you may have off. So I suggest to anybody who is just tuning in, or anyone who's watched it, to maybe go back. And by going back, I feel like we'll go forward. It's kind of corny, but it was by going back, we can move forward. Like watching this live, watching how important watching how everyone important who has come on has made their points is the only way we'll really understand how to move in the future. That's kind of what I had to say about it. I appreciate you bringing me on.
You said a lot.
Thank you.
Look, you know good and well. One, I love my family, right? My mother, your grandmother, made sure that we had the opportunities, right? That we understood how to learn. People ask me a lot, what made you want to do some of the things that you've done, right? And my love for reading, my love for knowledge, period. It comes from that family structure, right? We share, we talk. We don't always agree, right? But we talk, right? I come from a house full of women, right? So my family talks all the time. And I say nothing wrong about women, but that's just I grew up in that environment. And when I listen to my nieces and my nephews, when I listen to my family, it is amazing to me. And I think Mike Wiley said it earlier. It starts with family too. If they're not teaching history, critical race theory, whatever you want to call it, it starts with teaching at home. Yeah. And if you can't teach it, right? If you don't know it, it's finding somebody who does that can come in and teach it, and then vetting that knowledge that you get so that you can grow too. No, my nephew, you are absolutely positively correct in everything that you said. I started Erudition because we don't have anybody coming on right after. I started Erudition with the idea that I wanted to share information, knowledge. And I wanted to do it because you're right. In a world full of TikTok, in a world full of crazy YouTube videos, theories, lies, I started to say to myself, let me become more of a public historian, because it upset me that every time I would sit around, I would see, not saying they're not knowledgeable, white historians telling me the stories of Black people. It angered me that I could see someone talk about Muhammad Ali, right? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. You'll see documentaries that were produced and established by people who didn't even know these people. One of the first things that we did on our network, and the first video that I ever put, it was a crappy video. I need to do it again, but I shot it to talk about primary and secondary sources, so that you understood, unlike most places, that anything that I was going to say on here, I was going to back it up with evidence and proof, that I was going to give you a book or something to look at. And so I want you all, especially young people, it is so important to hear your voices. It is so important to understand that we done lived half our life, right? And we got to establish for you, rather it be people talk today about wealth, Rather it be about the knowledge that is passed down. The other day on Thursday, I talked about John Lewis, that John Lewis wrote a book on movement. And he could have left it at that, just wrote a printed book and left it at that. But he understood that that people needed to be able to understand what he was talking about. So he did it in a comic book. He told the civil rights story in a comic book because he understood that young people needed to be able to gravitate towards it. And everybody wasn't going to pick up no thick old book. They wanted to be able to read something that could pull them in. And so everything that you said on here is absolutely positive, correct, and needs to be said. One of the things we want to try to do, somebody said it earlier, we were already planning on doing, I told people who couldn't come on, we're going to do more of these forums. Maybe not as long, because 3 hours is a long time, but we were going to do more of these forums because we want to be able to bring people in, right? We want to be able to have people have their say and not just hear me talk, right? Because I'll go into history all day for you, but at the same time, I want to hear other people. Well, if you got anything, got something else, ain't nobody behind you.
No, I was thinking, I'm going to be honest. I watch a lot of TV, and there's a lot of there's a lot of they're trying to bring in a lot more representation of Black people into the media. Mm-hmm. And I remember you talked about how Oprah at one point was talking about she was talking about a specific point in Black history just to move her narrative instead of it actually being important to push just in general. And some of the richest people right now in the Black community are entertainers, and it's important for us to I feel like a point we can all agree on is we are more than entertainers. We are like the working, not just the working force, but the moving force of America. It's easy to see that Black people of color in general, we're not like we're not just sing-songy. I'm going to act on TV. I'm going to, give this person a giggle and a chuckle. I'm going to make this person listen to my music. We are intelligent, groundbreaking people that if anyone is a perfect example on how we should bring up our leaders and the celebrities or people that we value is Martin Luther King. And, I respect that I respect him. And I just feel like there should be, not saying everybody can be Martin Luther King, but there should be more people that we can say at the moment, resembles a powerful change in today. There should be people that we aren't just saying, oh, I really think that they make good music, or I think they make negative music. We should say that, oh, this person is fighting for Black equal pay, Black non-violent ways that we can keep the Black community. It's just a lot of focus on unimportant things that I think that if we want to actually move forward, and if we want to look at where we're going to go from now, it can't be simply on dancing or singing or doing whatever for people to laugh and giggle at us. I don't know that kind of, I don't know if that's negative, but
no, it's not negative. I watched a movie the other day with the family, and I didn't like the fact. I'm gonna be really honest. I watched a Marvel movie that just came out with the family, and my background with film, it angered me, right? Because the Black man was scary, jumping around, right? And that stereotype bothered me. I'm going to bring in, since we don't have anybody, I'm going to bring in your cousin, and I'm going to bring in Tina. And I'm going to encourage anybody over the next few minutes If you felt that you had something else to say, to come on also. We may echo a little bit because Eddie's up here on the side of me, which he could leave to go to another room. It's a pretty big house, but I think he just wants to be close to me.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, wow. Oh, wow.
Man,
Everyone's here.
everybody was so awesome.
Yes.
I wanted to poke at Tim a little bit more and Joe, but I want y'all wives on here. I don't want to be the only woman representing. I know Pastor Razor has a wife. I know a couple of these pastors. Pastor Jones, you have a wife. I want to see some women on here. I can't be the only one representing.
We got Black
I
History
think
Month.
a lot of change is coming when us women stand by a man like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, Coretta, like Obama's wife, stood by him, Michelle. I think it's a lot of the fact that of the matter that we're missing is us women. We stood behind our men, and we all together, united, we brought change. It wasn't just a man. And yes, God wants us to be united. So come on, ladies. Come on, Pastor Razor, Pastor Jones, Timothy, all of you guys. Joe, where's Michelle? Let's get on here.
So, in their defense, I knew we had limited time. 3 hours is a long time if you look at it, but when you got people coming on 5-10 minutes, it eats up. And I did ask different folks to come on, but I also told them that we would be doing this again. I'm gonna move Teddy downstairs so that we're not echoing so much. I told him to get out of here.
Tim said it's a man in this world. What is a man without a woman? Okay.
No, you made a very good point.
I have been in a situation where there's a room, right? While Teddy's moving, there's a room, and I walk into the room. There's different people in the room, and they have different personalities and what they represent, and whether they're imitating woman or imitating man. And when I walked into the room, everybody was an individual of what they were born. Because I come into a room as a born woman. So now when I come into that room, everybody that was born, whatever they were born, that's what came out. That's what resonated. And everybody started to communicate in that manner, because it's a difference between your mindset and your behavior and who you are at your core. Now, I don't bash anybody. Everybody can be free to be who they want. And the reason why I don't bash anybody is because before I knew it was wrong, I was head over heels in love with someone from the gay community. And I still love him now. But he wasn't flamboyant. It wasn't about his sex life. It was about who he was as a person. So I don't think anybody should be bashed. God gave us free will. Do what you will. But love. Everybody should act according to who you are in the moment, in the time. And don't worry about all that other stuff. And we need to stop, for the love of God, asking the same question.
No, you make a good point there. And I think that that's a great point to levy on for a moment there.
Yes, I do.
I don't think that you should be. Love is love. Nobody told you not to love somebody, right? And so I think that we ask, where do we go from here, right? Where we are right now. That is a part of it also. I think we are a more inclusive society in some ways and an exclusive society in other ways. We ostracize each other based on opinions and ideas, but that's not a part of information gathering. Information gathering means that I listen to you. That doesn't mean that I agree with everything you say, but I listen to you, right? And I respect the fact that what you're saying, and then I may have a counter. And we were talking the other day about the principles, right? And at the end and one of those principles that Dr. King put in there was compromise.
Yes, reconcile.
He wasn't talking about trying to compromise yourself in the reconciliation process and give up who you are. What he was saying is, don't see the evil in somebody.
That's
and
right.
make that person out to be evil, right? Understand that that's an individual too. And if you trust in God and he was a man of God, right? Then I got to love you.
That's right.
God has commanded me to love you, right? And though I may not agree with you, maybe because you from the south side of Chicago and I'm from the north side of Chicago, or you from the west side of Chicago, which is the best side, or you from the
Hello.
somewhere else, right? But it doesn't matter. It just means that we are still in the same city. We are still citizens of the same nation. We are still people who have the same constitutional rights. We are still black folks who got the same history, right? And we got to appreciate and love each other for that.
Right. And it's no wrong or right love. It's just love. My uncle is gone. He dead and gone. But he was an intelligent, influential person. And we can all forget about what we want in our bed or whatever. It's not about that. It's about love. Just love, man.
Okay. Teddy, what was you saying?
I do agree with Mom's point. The variety of voices is important. And behind every good man, there's a better woman. You need a muse. Men do need
Hello.
a muse. I do not believe that Dr. King would have sacrificed his life if he did not have a reason and somebody that was pushing him like, hey, I understand. And I'm pretty sure at times she was like, you know you can die, right? But he knew that his
He
word
knew
would
that
live
he
on.
had her and she would raise them kids and she would do the right.
That's a good
you
point.
need the two. I agree, Teddy.
And it's a great point because I don't think that he would. Well, Coretta actually said it right. That the sacrifice of that family, because that's a family,
It's the
right?
family.
That's kids. Dr. King's daughter, right, died young. She died a little bit right after her mother, I believe. It's a hard, but that was his oldest child.
Yeah.
That was his oldest child who had lived through some of that, who had seen, lived through when they tried to pipe bomb his house, right? Had seen her father be killed. These have effects on our families. And so when we appreciate the life of Dr. King, we also do have to look at the wife, the children, right? Dr. King's mother was killed, right? His brother drowned. There are a lot of different things that went on in that family. And so we have to understand that sacrifice. When you make it up in your mind, Dr. King said it in his principles, right? That when you make it up in your mind, that it's a personal commitment. They all had to be personally committed to what they were doing. You cannot be successful if everybody is not personally committed.
And he said that in the March, come here prepared to die.
Come here knowing that I might leave it all right here, but I know that I'm committed.
But our ancestors knew that it's better to live the way you want to live than to live and be dead inside. You dead already, you just don't know it. And I think that it's vital for us to show that united front. It's not just a bunch of one-sided men, gender. We need to show. But my husband came to me one day. He said, man, I told him how long my wife and I were together. You want to tell that story, Eddie?
What?
You want to tell that story? When so you came to somebody, someone came to you and you had said how long we were together. And they said, oh, black people don't do that. You want to tell that story?
I mean, yeah, but there's many stories to that. We've experienced that throughout our entire marriage, right? Different people. We would sit there and be in places having dinner before the boys was even born, and just having a discussion with someone, and other people would be listening, right? Because they don't see black people in that respect, in the way
longevity.
that well, CJ said it earlier. When we have movies and things that are telling people certain things about black culture, this is why I get mad. And I'm not saying y'all can't watch y'all shows when I see stuff like Power, or I see stuff like these different ninja shows. We'll leave it that. We'll call it that. That it's fine to show some aspects of black culture, But then at another part of it, it makes people think that that's all of Black culture. And if they think that that's all of Black culture, not doctors, educated, or whatever, say what you will about Bill Cosby, but the Cosby Show wanted to show you that Black folks could be lawyers, they could be doctors, they could raise their kids
together in the same house, still united. And
Yeah.
it's and that's one of the things that we really need to start. Whereas here is and the reason why I keep bringing that back up when people keep asking, and when the answer comes up, I bring it back, that question back up with the answer. Whereas here is yeah, if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had not died, he would have still been married to his wife. I would imagine if we could understand that, you know, we have our differences, and the most oftentimes we see those differences in marriage, and we get past those differences, we get past those hurdles and obstacles, and we might not come out the same way we went in married, but we still are united, we still are together. And we need to understand that, yeah, it's not just one culture that we do that with. It's a lot of people in my family who were married for 20, 30 years and died together and died right after the other because the other one was gone. We have that in our community too. And our men and our women, they don't need another culture to motivate them to go to work. We are their motivation.
Well, let me ask you a question though. But how many of them are getting married, right? How many of them see marriage as a trap? How many of them see marriage as something that's bad? How many of them been taught that marriage, if you are married, that it's okay for you to cheat on your marriage? How many times are we teaching these lessons in the Black culture, right? Where we're either making a system of finance in a wrong way, where we telling them get rich or die trying. At the same time, we going out there telling them to trick themselves out. It's okay to go do whatever it is that you doing, use up whatever physicality that you have, that precious thing that God gave you, your wealth and your being, right? Give that away. And so when we tell ourselves as a community, right, that you don't need to be with one person, you don't need to have that love for that other person. And again, I'm going to love you whatever you do. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you that when you commit yourself to whimsical things and ideas that are not grounded in reality, you're not going to be happy. A lot of people chasing happiness because they are unhappy, but they don't stay.
Really what it is.
They don't stay long enough to find happiness. CJ, I'm gonna let you go ahead because you speak. If you got anything to say with all of that.
Oh no, I just think it's amazing how I was reading Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison, and
Yep.
he was he's talking about kind of what you were just referring to. We have these projections of what a Black man should look like, what a Black man should be, and you know, everyone is going to have their own kind of lens to look through. But it's really about, I think someone said it earlier, finding yourself in order to really fight for something that you believe. If I was to say, oh, I believe that this politician should be this, or I believe the government should be like this, you have to know for yourself. You aren't speaking, you're not a megaphone. No one's speaking through you. And the importance of discovering. I'm not saying that marriage is something you should play around with, or like, you know, you shouldn't take advice when people say, you know, find someone that you connect with. But I was just saying that, you know, it's important for people to realize to find yourself and to find who you are is the only way you can really have a voice in the world and have the, well, you can have a voice without it, but like, it's the only way you can really have your thoughts really considered. I feel like Martin Luther King knew who he was when he told a speech. He knew what he wanted to say. He knew what he wanted to fight for. And a lot of people like try and do the verses between him and Malcolm X and him and this person. But the important thing was he wasn't focused on. Well, he was focused, but he was more or less pushing his voice the most. He was pushing his peers and his congregation to do what he thought would help the Black community. And I just that's what I thought I'd add on.
Well, you got to go. The thing that we tried to do as we get ready to close this out, we tried to go on here Thursday and we tried to speak to those very things that you just mentioned, right? We tried to talk about. I thank God for Erudition's focus, because it comes from. You might think it comes from Eddie, but a lot of times it is. I get the idea of what I'm going to talk about, right? And I know that has to be from God, because the truth of the matter is, everybody on here all day that this whole period has talked about all of those principles. Dr. King left principles for this world that we are not taught. And we specifically, everybody, when Tina first got on, she talked about it. Teddy talked about it. Tony Briscoe, Pastor Razor, Pastor Rodney, everybody hit those principles. Now, what does that mean? That meant Tina's great uncle Fred Shuttlesworth sat right beside Dr. King, right? He worked with him, right? And so, and he's known in history. The man sat there and had a church be blown up. But I'm gonna run through those real quickly. I'm not gonna espouse on them. I'm just gonna give the titles. He said, gather your information, understand, so that everybody at that table, as Pastor Razor was saying, you already at that table. Everybody gathered the information. They knew who they were. You just said that. Knew who they were. They knew who their wives knew who they were. Their family supported it. Because it was something to stand up and say no back then and get your church blown up, as Tina's uncle did while he was in it, right? Punctured his eardrum. It was something to take your kids to a school and get beat with chains, which he did, and have his wife stabbed, which is what happened with Fred Shuttlesworth. But he understood what he was doing. And then after that, at the same time, once you do that, educate yourself. You've educated yourself, you gather your information. But I think the most important part of that is personal commitment. Everybody on here came on to speak about their personal commitment to do something more than themselves. That's what Dr. King did. More than yourself. Daily check and affirm your faith that what I'm doing is right and just, right, and moral. Because if I can do that, I got the knowledge, I've earned the knowledge, but now I'm going to go forth. And then every part after that, the negotiation that comes after that, right? Nothing could happen without that personal commitment. Nothing. And so everybody talked about that today. And we ain't even got to direct action. You're not even at the direct action part, which everybody focuses on. I'm going to fight, right? That's not what he told you to do. And the thing about it is, it worked. Pastor Razor got on and said, educate, educate, educate. That's the first part of it. My wife got on here and said, make sure that your family is there with you, right? You got on here, CJ, you made the point, right? To get everybody with you. Everybody needs to be together. They need to understand what we're doing right here. None of that could happen if we don't have that commitment. And so this program today, somebody got on there and said, I love this session. It was 3 hours. I am in great amounts of pain. People don't know that. Because I've been hurt for the better part of a month. But I am personally committed to erudition, personally committed to informing our people and to get their voices, to let them speak and tell us where we need to be going. So I'm going to shut up again and I'm going to let y'all close out. I'm going to give each one of you, I'm going to go from CJ, I'm going to go from you, then I'm going to go to Teddy, and I'm going to let Tina close it out as we close out this 3-hour session.
I just want to say I appreciate the welcome. I appreciate being here. I loved everything everyone had to say, even things that I would like to hear more from their voices about, or like, just more about or further understand. I enjoyed that everybody had their own perspective, even, you know, after there were multiple people speaking, there's still more that could be said, and I love that. I can't wait to, you know, talk about it more, listen to it more before even February, and the most of February. So
All right, Teddy, go ahead.
I'm happy that we allowed everybody on. All those voices were very influential, and we need to hear from. Hearing Pastor Razor, he reminds me of my school principal, Mr. Babs, which was saying the same thing. We need to know where we come from, who we are, and then we can do better. And you can inflict that on your work. He was a black man, and when I heard that he had passed, I was rather sad because I remember that he helped me, Xavier, and Josiah, all of those black kids, personally visiting the class and being like, "Hey, what's going on?" Just a joking way, and probably a father figure because Xavier's father walked out on him. It was that was a good man, and I could hear that shining light voice in Pastor Razor, and I hope that he never loses that because that's what we all need out here.
I agree. All right, Tina.
Well, everyone made some fantastic points, and I love to hear from the women. I want to put that out there. I don't want you to think that you have to have a title. You don't have to wait for a title. I'm from the homeschool community. We didn't have titles, we weren't teachers, but what we did was we taught our youth. We didn't know, and we were learning along with our youth. So, come on, ladies. You don't need a title. You just need your voice to come on and say what you have to say. I really like the fact that everybody's acknowledging that they have questions. It's a humility that's come with this. It's memories that's coming with this. And everybody is pulling together as one. So I have to say that that can be the final step in that 6 steps. This is the direct action. We are coming together with a united voice and saying, this is where we want to go. Ask the question, restate the question, and state the answer. This is the question, this is the answer. So everybody can be on one accord. So you can understand, we're not asking the same question because we don't know the answer. We're stating the question and giving our answer.
Good point. Well, we are going to do more coming up during Black History Month, obviously, and coming up with Erudition, more programs, more things that we're trying to do to shine a light on these things. But I just want to say thank you to all of you all, everyone who came on today, and it was important to get all of those people on here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to end that 3 hour the 3 hours that we've done. I hope that you gained and you got something from this, because I believe that the whole purpose of this was to get us to have a conversation. I think we did a good job with that. It took a while. With a lot of people on. Some people we missed. Hey, don't worry about it. We'll get you on the next forums. Everybody will get an opportunity. Erudition is all about knowledge and learning. For me, my family, for all of those who came on today, I say thank you for sticking with us. If you stuck through the whole 3 hours, or if you're watching the replay of it, take something from this. Let's go forward as a people. Let's try to do something positive for a man who gave his life, right, for the furthering of his people. And as my cousin said earlier, he could have lived to be an older man, but he gave his life. And so I thank you. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your weekend, and thank you for sticking with us. And we will see you next Thursday on Erudition. Share this broadcast with friends, family, even enemies, right? As I tell people now, share it, get other people to talk about it. Until then, thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.